not talk about family when family's all that we got. Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 30, The Fate of the Furious, Lap 3. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Symantec for all of your personal, business, and enterprise needs. Symantec sees more than threats and protects more customers from the next generation of attacks. If you have a driverless car, maybe you need Symantec.
One thing I can guarantee, Joe, no one but Symantec is ready for this. This movie is dumb sometimes, I gotta say. We will talk about it later. I told you, so I don't want to spoil you, but you said that you weren't really digging at this. I like this one more and more each time I watch. I have a new theory why I don't think it's great, but I keep giving it a better score on Letterboxd. I think I'm Stockholming in there.
I'm getting to the point where, like, at least I'm piecing together the plot.
There's one thing, and we'll talk about it, but I think, I don't know for sure, like, this is not a Bloomberg, the Stats of the Furious situation, but I think there's that monologue in this movie where Cypher, deciphers her plan or whatever. And I think it's the longest speech in the history of these movies, and also, like, the most exposition. Like, it's just, here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing it, here's what's happening next, here's what I'm doing, here's who I am.
And it's so bland that, like, I had never noticed. I know that you and I have talked about it before, and we were like, what is Cypher's goal here? At the end of the movie, after we watched it once or twice, I couldn't tell you. But finally...
Accountability.
Yeah, but finally I nailed it down this watch, and I was like, I finally understand what she's doing. Okay. It's a shitty one, but I understand it. Okay.
We're going to talk about it when Mike joins us later. We've already talked about Charlize's character in depth over on Watch the Throne.
Yes.
The frustrating thing to me is that we did an entire podcast about her because she's such a dynamic actress, and she's so bland in this movie by choice. Like, she's just like this, like, cool as ice, like, no one's ever gonna ruffle my feathers. And it's like, okay, but, like, have a little emotion or something.
Yeah, it's so bland. And, like, I get that she is a dynamic actress, so it's not her acting. Like, somebody told her to do this. Like, it was a character choice from someone. We don't know if it was her or the director or the whoever. But still, it's like, God, it's so bland. It's painful to watch, man.
It's not great. Okay, so before we get any further, so there's a couple things I want to do right off the top of the bat. So number one, we have a new little game that it's not an every episode game. We're going to do a one-time game here that doesn't really have a lot to do with Fast and Furious, but it could.
Yeah.
We'll do that at the end of the episode, so that's number one.
We are, yeah.
Number two, this is the final episode of The Lap that Mike is on, so we're going to get his final rankings.
Oh, that's true.
And then we tune up the relap recap. Next episode, we're going to get an average, because I have like 20 different people's rankings or something, so we'll have a real... I'll give out the results of that, but I want to know, because we had Mike's rankings from the beginning. I want to see what changed.
Oh, true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Number three, our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/toofast2forever. If you're listening and don't like it, well, I mean, if you're listening and don't like the page, if you're listening and don't like the podcast, why are you listening? If you're listening and don't like the podcast page on Facebook, go like it. There's two events on there, two things I want to point out. Number one, we sort of joke about it, but there is an event for the 1327 party in California. So go on there, RSVP. Wes and Jenny were talking back and forth in emails about the party. Like, there's a page, like, RSVP, let us know that you're coming. Get excited. There's nothing going on in the event, but...
And you have, 9 years for it, so...
8 years, 7.5 years, really.
Jesus, wow.
It's getting
creeping
close.
Up on
we're getting
us.
Close.
Okay.
And number two, the other Facebook event is that we pinned down a date. So we are going to, if you're in the New York area, we're going to see Hobbs and Shaw. We don't have the time yet because they have not announced it yet, but we're going to see Hobbs and Shaw the Thursday night it opens.
Yes.
So it's going to be August 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
Probably the 7 or 8 p.m., whatever, showing at the Palisades Mall in West Nyack, New York, which is sort of halfway between.
Day. Yeah.
Yep, where we both live. So if you're in the area, there's a Facebook event for that, too. So if you want to find out, that's an actual because that's only a couple months away.
And you'll see most of the squad, actually, so...
Thursday, August 1st, I'll be there, Joe 2 will be there, Rachel will probably be there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she'll be there.
Mike Manzi will be there, Brian Rodriguez.
Late night.
Maybe Kyle, who will be on Next Lap. A lot of people could be there. You could be there. Join us Thursday, August 1st. Check that out on Facebook.
We're fun people in person, I promise. I'm
the
not
final thing, I guess, I mean, a little weird. The final thing is that tomorrow, as we're recording this, we might have to go back and do a reaction. There's a new trailer dropping, so if you haven't seen it already, if you want to watch it, there's a new trailer out for Hobbs and Shaw, so go check that out. Maybe we'll cut in a little thing about us talking about it, or maybe later, or whoever.
Here, or there.
Right here.
Or here.
All right, we're back here. It's the next day. The trailer for Hobbs and Shaw is out, and I have not watched it because
I did watch it, and boy, do I regret that decision.
Boy, do we not have a trailer for you.
I hope that if you're listening and you haven't seen it yet, you don't watch it, because we tried to warn you on the Facebook page.
And the Twitter page.
And the Twitter page, yeah.
On Twitter.
I was trying to spread as far and wide. I warned all of my buddies here. It is super spoilery. Obviously, we haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if it actually does spoil anything. But I'll give you a rundown of just a quick overview of things the reasons why you shouldn't see it. One, it introduces some more characters that maybe we had talked about, questioning whether or not they were going to be in the movie. So you add some characters, which is terrible, right? That's pretty disappointing for me. It's exciting, but you're now when I see, any of these characters, I'll be like, yeah, well, I knew they're in the movie. It shows a major action sequence.
I think we talked about it before, but when Furious 7, the trailer came out during the Super Bowl, the highlight of that thing was jumping in the car from building to building. I'm just we shouldn't know we don't know the context of it, but we know that's going to happen. It's frustrating.
Yes, I agree. For me, I remember this, when I saw the commercial, I saw the car between the buildings, and when they're like, this car is in the building, I'm like, well, that's the fucking car that jumps through the buildings, right? You instantly know it. So this isn't as bad as that, I wouldn't say, but it's a major action sequence where some things happen and you're just like, oh shit, there goes that. You know what I mean? We get a lot of the plot. They give us a whole rundown. I was explaining this to you this morning, that it's a Fast and Furious movie. We know the general premise of a Fast and the Furious movie, right? At this point, it's somebody has something, you want to get something, we need to get the thing back, we need to go get the thing, anything. You know what I mean? It's usually kind of like a chase, right? That's the general story of it.
It needs a car chase of some kind in the movie.
It needs to be you're trying to catch someone or they're trying to catch you, or that's the whole premise of it. This, it lays out exactly what's going to happen. Who, what, and not where, when, but who and what is happening. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Idris Elba, you said you saw this.
Well, I don't want to say it just in case so many people didn't see it, but he calls himself something.
He refers to himself as something, and then all of the headlines today, you brought this up to me, and I was like, oh, well, since you know, it's just because, he describes himself. Oh, there's one thing that I'm so fucking mad that I saw, that I won't forget that I saw, that is very, very relevant to us, and I can't say it to you because I don't want to ruin it for you at all. And it's so frustrating. But there's one tiny thing that doesn't matter to a lot of people, that is something that we've talked about before. And I just saw it happen and I was like, motherfuck.
I'm going to ask one question, and I kind of want you to spoil it if I'm right.
Okay.
Is it about Hobbs being gay?
No. Okay. Absolutely not.
Because I don't think that would be in the trailer, but if that was, I'd be like, oh, I want to see this now. I want to, you know what I mean? But because that's something that matters a lot to us.
It's so much smaller than that. Even.
Okay.
It's something that's very minuscule that a lot of people it wouldn't bother them. I don't even think that many people would notice it, but it was something that I noticed immediately, and I was like, fuck. It was just a huge giveaway of something else that I was just like, god damn it. It's something only we would notice. And I'm very disappointed that I saw it.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, maybe it's a cool foreshadowing for some other things that are happening in the movie, but without getting too much into it, I'm sad that I saw that.
Well, we're only 3.5 months away, less than, from the movie coming out. We're going to do our little pre-hype episode in 3 months.
I think if there's other trailers, I don't know if I can't tell you guys if I'm going to watch them or not.
Because, that was our whole dilemma, because I was like, I don't want to watch trailers because I don't want it spoiled for me, and you said, and I ultimately agree with you, we should see it because this is what we do, we should know about it, but at the same time, we're not official spokespeople for the movies. We don't need to know what's going on in the trailers.
Don't.
There's something about the element of surprise. And so I'm guessing there's probably going to be one more.
I'm guessing there's going to be one more too, yeah.
Yeah, because there's still a lot of time left, you know what I mean?
And it was long, dude. It was like 3.5 minutes of shit. Like, remember, like, the Super Bowl one was like almost 2 minutes, and you were like, oh, is it like a real 2 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's like a full 2 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
But I think that one, like, if you saw the first one even, like, that's way less. I mean, so we saw it, we can talk about it. It's like a lot more of like the character development, like Hobbs and Shaw, like the play back and forth.
It's basically introducing who they are to people who don't know the movies.
Yes, it's that. It's a lot of like them talking back and forth, and you as knowing the characters. We've never really seen them like as a team, right? So it was like more of like, oh, we're gonna give you a little hint that it's gonna be a little bit like jovial, and like there's gonna be some sparks there. You know what I mean? Stuff like this. This was like way more of the movie, like a lot full scenes. Like there was like a minute sequence that just like this is clearly a whole scene in the movie that like they just didn't cut anything out of.
I'm just worried because, you know, a week from tonight as we're recording this, 2 days from today as you're listening to this, I'm going to see Avengers Endgame, and like I'm
You're
guessing
see the trailer.
either that movie, or something. And like even if I look down and I don't pay attention, I'm still going to hear it, and it's still going to sink in a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to see the visuals, but I'm going to know.
I think that if you don't look at it, you won't miss the thing that disappointed me most. I don't even know if you'll. I don't even know if that's if the thing that I'm talking about is going to bother anyone else besides me, even.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. That's because we've never watched one of these movies together. We will when Rachel joins us for lap 4 because we're going to watch it in person.
Yeah.
I mean, we might not even watch in person. We might watch separately and then just record together. I don't know.
Who knows?
But I want you to sort of like tap on my shoulder if I don't get it. Be like, that's what I was, and I want to know. You know what I mean? Like if I don't.
Oh, when we're in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday, August 1st.
Yeah, I think so. I'll definitely tell you in the theater, like, or right after it. I'll be like, that was, and as soon as I see it, I'll remember, like, even I'm bad at remembering things, like, I'll see it and be like, that's what I was talking about.
So email family@cageclub.me if you watched the trailer or chose not to. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't spoil things for us. If you do, because I don't read the emails ahead of time. I'm gonna be real mad.
You really don't do it. That'd be really mean to Joey because like
so mean.
I'm kind of disappointed that I saw it. So like at least let one of us have the glory of surprise.
And also all the listeners too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean I could always stop reading it, but don't be that guy.
Please don't.
Just email the show if you did watch it. Let us know if you're disappointed, if you think it's not that big of a deal. Or if you didn't watch it, give emotional support to the rest of us who are not watching the trailer.
Yeah.
And now, back to the show. Good luck editing this, Joey. First up, Joe, extracurricular activities.
Okay. You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Let me see what I've been doing.
Okay, then if you're
last
thinking...
time we had the big updates, right? You had your Italy trip. I had nothing.
Yeah.
We last recorded 2 weeks ago exactly, Wednesday the 3rd. What have you been doing since that date?
2 things.
Yeah.
One, today's a sad day. Hockey's over for me. So, RIP, Penguins, they're out. But last week, Friday night, I went to see the Penguins lose at Nassau Coliseum against the Islanders. Checked another stadium off my stadium tour.
Oh, I thought you'd been there. You hadn't been there yet?
No, because they played at Barclays, remember? They just came back to Nassau this year.
Right. Yes.
So I've now seen them play at Barclays and Nassau. I think I'm
Okay.
About 12 stadiums deep or something at this point. I don't know. I have it on a map at work. But yeah, so I got to check off a new stadium. The fans were actually really cool. Some of the coolest that I've ever talked to or met. They were all fun.
Were there other Penguins fans there or no?
Very, very few. A handful at the most. Not that many. Usually, we travel really well and most of their stadium games are majority Penguins fans.
Yep.
But this one was no Penguins fans. But the fans that I all talked to were super cool, super friendly, and I was really happy with them, and I hope that they go far because that's awesome. They were cool people. They impressed me, so I was happy.
Was the game sold out?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tiny arena too. It's 13,000 or something. It's
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, so that's why they don't want to let them keep playing in Nassau because they don't have the seating for it. Although that Barclays has the seating, but you can't see in half the seats.
And also, people didn't care, right? When they moved to Barclays, nobody showed up.
Yeah, so I'm really curious how this next round's gonna go because they have to start playing all in Barclays now, and the views are bad. There's literally sections that you sit in that you cannot see a net. You're just over a net. You can't see one half of the rink, essentially.
Yeah, that sucks.
Really sucks.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's not good, but they, are going to make them play there. Meanwhile, Nassau's smaller, but, the fans were awesome. They were super loud, and it's, a really classic kind of feel. You know what I mean? It's smaller, but it has, the nice bowl shape to it. It's really great.
I just think it's funny and dumb and fitting that it doesn't work in Brooklyn. That like the Islanders from Long Island are now playing in Brooklyn, and like it doesn't work. So maybe stick to your home.
Yeah, and then and the fans were super like they want the team back. You know what I mean? It's not like there's just so much bullshit along with that. They wanted a new rink, and instead of them getting a new rink, they just moved. It's just a long hockey story for no reason. But anyways, they deserve to be back in Long Island, and the Long Islander fans were cool. So they're cool in my book. Thumbs up to them.
I've not done a whole lot in the last 2 weeks. I got some stuff coming up in the next 2 weeks that should be, in theory, exciting.
Cool.
So I can talk about that on the Relap Recap. I saw in theaters, I saw Shazam, which was okay. I feel like I like Shazam less than everybody else. It's fine. It's fun, but it's,
Okay.
Pet Sematary is not good.
Okay. Not on my radar at all.
That.
I saw that it came out, but I was just like, these remake ones could go really bad. So
I also watched the national championship game in college basketball because
Cool.
if Texas Tech had won, I would have won $100. I would have come in second place in my pool. I would have won $100. $20 buy-in, but Virginia won, so I only came in third. So I got my money back. So a whole month of watching basketball for nothing, but came out no worse for wear.
Yeah.
So that's not bad.
Not too bad. Last thing, and this is pretty much directly speaking to Miss Wes. I've gotten bread stuff down better. I've gotten way better at it. I think I've sent you some pictures of it too, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's way crustier. My problem was humidity in the oven. It needs to be really humid. My bread making has come along, and I just bought some Italian sourdough starters.
That's awesome.
That I'm growing now. I'm gonna keep an Italian strain of sourdough going and make bread with that. So
cool.
Yeah, so my bread stuff is coming along. I'm actually pretty proud of it. It comes out pretty good, so hopefully this works out too.
We'll have Joe's baking corner on future episodes.
I'm not a professional baker. I'm just a home baker. No, so if you want real baking, Stellar Bakes. Go to see Miss Wes.
Here we go. How about this? Joe's ABC, Joe's Amateur Baking Corner.
How about Amy's Baking Company?
Okay.
Do you know this? No.
Amy's
It's
Baking
the one that
Company.
it's like the worst episode of Kitchen Nightmares ever.
Oh.
With this really crazy lady.
Yes.
Where everything's homemade, but everything's also frozen and bought at Costco.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, that was
I forgot
joke.
all about that. If you Google that, the first thing that comes up is the Yelp.
Yes.
And it says Amy's Baking Company closed.
Yeah, they finally closed.
R.I.P. Amy's Baking Company.
Amen.
But Joe's Amy's Baking Company. Go for it. I want to hear about that sourdough. I want to eat that sourdough.
I'll bring you some. Yeah. And I told you I'll give you. Yeah. So I'll bring you some when I make a loaf. I just started the culture, so usually I have to give it about a week of feeding it and stuff like that to get it going and nice and healthy and happy. And so I'm on that tip right now. Hopefully in a couple weeks I'll have some good breads coming out.
Check in 2 weeks on the Relap Recap, which is relapping and recapping Joe's Amateur Baking Corner ABC.
I like it.
All right, we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/2fast2forever. Shout out Cassie Wilson for supporting us over there.
Thank you.
If you want to get some merch, no progress on the merch since the last time, but it is coming. Stickers will be coming. That's that. Number 2, mailbag.
Yes.
Family@cageclub.me if you want to send us an email. Joe, 4 emails tonight.
Cool. Good. Okay. Who are they from?
First up, Wes Hampton. Subject line, a couple of quick things. Hey guys.
Hello, Wes.
This is not my regular email, so here we go. We got another Wes coming later, but this is not my regular email. I'm still listening to this week's episode, but I just ran across a few things today I thought you might enjoy.
Tell me.
Here you go. First, I got an email from the iOS game Fast and Furious Takedown, which I think he's written us about.
Yeah, and I tried to play it. I
familiar.
put it on my phone. Dude, I've gotten so old for video games. Nothing holds my attention anymore like this. I played it to try it out to do our due diligence, and I was like, okay. And after that first 20 minutes I played it that day, I was like, cool. And then I forgot about it, and it just was way in the back of my app, so I forgot about it. But go ahead.
He says, I haven't been playing it much lately, so he sounds like you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because I got to the point where it's become really grindy, so I've kind of lost interest. The email I received included a 1.5-minute ad for the game that they made in partnership with Hot Wheels.
Ooh.
It's kind of silly, but still looks fun. Here's the link, and he says there's a YouTube link for Fast and Furious Takedown Helicopter Heist. So I'm going to put this link in here if you want to take a look at it.
Are we going to watch it?
I don't think I want to watch it.
Okay.
Nah.
Fair.
Shout out West, though.
No, I mean, we could watch it eventually. I thought we were going to, watch and talk about it. But
oh no, I was just saying if you want to watch it while I read to you, but
okay,
it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on and I'll make some comments about it.
Okay.
Good.
I also came across this video on the FNF subreddit. It looks like it was during the press tour for Fast and Furious 6, and the gist is a Singapore press guy is asking some of the cast to guess normal car prices in Singapore.
Oh.
I spent a month in Singapore for work back in 2008.
That's really cool.
And it's crazy how expensive it is to not only buy a car, but just to drive there.
Yes. I know this only because Bourdain talked about it on like Parts Unknown or No Reservations, one of these shows. He was in Singapore, and like everybody has like scooters or bikes because it's like exponentially more expensive to have a car or like a parking spot, you know?
It's partly to encourage using public transportation because Singapore is so small and densely populated.
Genius.
But a weird side effect is we see all these crazy expensive supercars like Lamborghinis and Ferraris just parked on the street all over the place.
Yeah, because you have tons of parking.
I guess it's a sign of wealthier. Yeah. That's where Crazy Rich Asians was, right?
Yes. Yeah, Singapore.
So there's some crazy rich cars and nice cars in that one. I guess it's a sign of wealth here. Over there, it's an even crazier sign of wealth, and rich people got to show off. So if you want to find on YouTube, FNF stars guess Singapore car prices. The still for this is Michelle Rodriguez looking
shocked,
stunned.
Yeah, she looks
that
shocked.
This like what looks like a Toyota Camry is $90,000 in U.S. equivalent. So
I've heard about that, and that's actually it's a really good idea. But the disproportional side effect is that rich people are like, oh, it's so easy to drive here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, well, fuck you, too, for not having traffic or, like, and always having parking for your supercar. You know, like, asshole, thanks. Yeah. Like, I do think that you should use more public transportation and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like, oh, fuck those rich people, too, so.
Fuck those rich people, too. And last is a picture I also saw on the FNF subreddit. I've been avoiding as much of the Avengers Endgame lead-up as I can.
Same.
That of Boy West, following like me. So believe it or not, I haven't seen any of those actual posters, which I saw. They're not really spoilers. They're kind of... Have you seen these posters, Joe? Do you know about the posters?
Yeah, they're like the end. They're like all the single-shot ones.
Yeah.
I've seen them, but I haven't, like, looked at them because, like you said, like Wes said, like, I'm not trying to see anything about it.
Well, so it's not specific spoilers for these because I won't say one way or the other, but like spoilers for Infinity War first. So if you haven't watched Infinity War, skip ahead 30 seconds. But at the end of Infinity War, when Thanos snaps and half the universe disappears, the posters are either in full color if the character is still alive, or in black and white-ish if the character has been snapped.
Okay.
So it's not really spoilers because it's just a matter of who you know is there or not.
Yeah, and if you're caught up, you're caught up, so.
And so most of them, like, there's like 40 posters or something like that. Like, I feel like 35 of them or something, like, some really high percentage we knew from the movie.
Yeah.
But there were a couple that people were like, I'm not sure because we don't see one way or the other, so we know that some people are alive and some people are not. So it's not really spoilers. It's not like, oh, here's what's going to happen to Captain America or whatever. But
yeah, I get it.
I understand if you want to know nothing. But even I was just like, I'll take a look, whatever. He says, I haven't seen any of these actual posters, but I have seen this Avenge the Fallen meme going around. This is my favorite one so far. So he sends us one, Avenge the Fallen, just a picture.
Let me see. Wait, hold on. Let me open it. Oh, yeah. Han, for sure.
It's a sad one.
It is. And he should be in black and white because he snapped, right?
He should be, yeah.
Okay. That is a good meme, though.
Shout out, Wes. Thank you for emailing in. We'll get to Wes's longer, bigger, more detailed email in a little bit.
Cool.
But these are some cool links and stuff, so
yeah, those were awesome.
Check those out.
I watched the video for the game, and it looks fun. Like I just enjoy all the Fast and Furious stuff. I think we mentioned it before. Joey got me the Hot Wheels for my birthday last year.
I think they made another set of Hot Wheels.
If they did, I'm gonna get them. Like, I think they're cool.
I opened those. I don't know if I said this, but I picked up my mail and I went to get my car wash because I got like a free car wash coupon or whatever. So I was just like in the middle of a car wash, waiting for my car to get through the thing, and I'm just like unpacking Hot Wheels inside because I was like, I got nothing else. I mean, just why not? And so I'm just like taking cars out, putting them everywhere, and people are looking at me like, what is going on?
I do like that you went through the car wash in your car.
No, I didn't. I had to be taken out like that. You can't,
You're not allowed to ride in it anymore?
I don't think so.
I want to. I'm always just like scared that you're in Jersey where you can't even pump your own fucking gas. So I'm always like, I want to go in the car wash, and they're like, okay, like right through that door, and I'm like, oh, like you didn't even ask me if I wanted to stay in the car. Like just let me ride it like a small child. But
yeah,
okay.
I just put that Han picture on our Facebook page.
Yes,
you can take a look at it. Next email from our new boy, Wells Lamont.
Wells, what's up, brother?
Taking the first bite of barbecue is definitely worth having to say grace, is the subject line.
Okay, true.
He says, answering your questions, how did I go about watching episodes out of order, and did I learn anything watching episodes backwards? I started this journey at episode 1, lap 1, and ran through all of them until lap 2 started. Then I decided to stop there and start from the end and work my way back.
Okay.
I did this because I figured I was going to write you guys multiple times, so I have to keep up with your latest episodes.
Cool.
I definitely listened to the newest episode immediately upon release. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if I'm learning anything watching it backwards that I wouldn't have if I started from the beginning, but it is cool to see how far the podcast has come and the direction it went from lap 1.
That's cool.
That's cool. We're growing. We're getting better, maybe.
Yeah, awesome.
Only problem is I need to take notes if I'm ever going to remember specifics. Also, let me clarify that 6 is amazing. Fast and Furious 6 is amazing.
Yeah.
And better than 2, but 2 is too nostalgic for me to bump down.
I love 2 too. That, like, you heard my rankings, like, 2 has some nostalgia for me that, like, I can't get it out of my head, so.
At least at this time in my life, my list could easily be 5, 3, 6, 1, 2, 7, 4. Also, I rewatched 4, which I hadn't seen in a while, in parentheses, unlike the rest that are constantly in rotation.
Amen.
And I enjoyed it more than I ever have.
So did we.
My love only grows for these movies, just like us.
Yeah, I agree.
4 is a darker film, and it's all about revenge, with no funny Tej or Roman comedy relief. They do recruit more family in 4, but it stays where it stays on my list. 7 is the same. I love 7. I just rewatched it, and it's fantastic, but there's not enough People's Champ in it. He had such a diminished role, and he's kind of my favorite character. Hobbs almost makes it cool to be on that side of the law. Anyway, 7 stays where it stays. I now watch these movies with more of a purpose, and it's added a certain element of surprise and intrigue that may have been lost after the 500th time viewing these films, so thanks to Too Fast, Too Forever for that.
Awesome.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's the kind of, you stumbled upon what kind of brought us to here to begin with. Like, as we watch these and we see them again, you always find something new and fun to think about.
And we'll tell you all about it when we see them again.
And we'll tell you all about it when we see them again. Amen. I'm glad that you wrote in again, though, and I hope that you keep liking the episodes. I think that
there's more email. There's more in his email.
Fuck. Continue. Sorry.
He's got a lot more in his email.
Go for it.
A few things I want to say before I'm done. Han is hella different in Tokyo Drift than he is in 4, 5, and 6.
Really?
He's the leader and subtle badass. Pretty much he's the guy in that movie.
Okay.
He's cocky, but with morals. 4, 5, and 6, he's still got swag, but it's not the same, quote, take charge Tokyo Han. It's the, quote, I'm playing my small role in this team Han.
Yeah.
Han is coming back in 9 or 10. I can feel it. Crossed fingers emoji.
I hope so. Yeah, I guess he kind of has to take a backseat to Dom. Like, there can't be 2 Doms. Like, even though he's like Tokyo Dom, he can't be Dom when Dom is around.
This is maybe explicit. I'll put it in there. Reading verbatim, no knees Denise to me always meant she didn't give BJ's, she only did anal. I have no idea if that's correct, though.
That's a wild new take. We can throw that in the mix of possibilities. But thank you for sharing, and thanks for the laugh. No, that's closer to what I was imagining, but sure.
It's a very specific point of view.
Just butt stuff. Butt stuff.
In 7, Dom and Sean are seen talking in the parking garage, and things are said back and forth, which leads Dom to ask Sean, who says American Muscle can't drift? And they put in all capital letters, why TF, why the fuck didn't they have Dom drifting?
Exactly.
Angry face emojis and the head exploding emoji, I think. Or no, head sniffing or exhaling steam from his nose emoji.
Yeah, furious.
Just imagine that for a moment. Let's have a moment of silence for the death of something that never was, that should have been, that hopefully still could be in future movies. Anyway, I'm overreacting, but if you think about it, I'm really not.
Nah, I don't think so.
Right before Brian drives out of the plane in 7, he says, quote, just when you thought we couldn't get any crazier. He was talking to us, the fans, with that line. Love that.
I think so, too. Yeah, good point. Just when you thought we couldn't get any crazier. He's like, yeah, like, Fast and Furious is really gonna see some shit. Like, yeah, I get it.
When Dom bucks his Charger and bumps Ramsey off the hood and into his sunroof, it's epic.
It is.
I love the facts and tidbits you all bring to us. I would never have known any of these behind-the-scenes anecdotes or production secrets, so again, I thank the Joes of Too Fast, Too Forever for extra details.
Cool. Well, we're just getting into it, because we've been saving so much extra shit to drag this out as long as possible, so... Forever. Thank you,
Wells, for writing. We got a lot of WE names. We got West, we got Wells.
Oh, yeah, Joe and Joe.
Next email, new listener, Joe.
No, damn, seriously?
Dan Lamar. Subject line, love you guys.
Wow, okay. Hi, Dan. Right. Welcome to the family.
What's up, bros? I recently found your pod and can't get enough. I'm a machinist, a husband, a dad, and an all-around guy. And a podcast listener. And a guy with good taste, may I add.
That's awesome, dude.
I think we would be best friends in real life. I love the Fast and Furious franchise. Hate so much, love so much, etc. You know how it is. But yeah, I don't really have Twitter, but I can imagine I will email again because I have lots to say.
Well,
I'm going through in order, So I'm in lap 1 and just finished 4. I think he's listening to our episodes in order. Okay.
Oh, cool. So he's early too, huh?
He's early.
Good.
I know I have quite the journey before me, but I will work a night shift so I can knock out several a night.
Oh, cool.
That's a lot of us. I can tell you that much. I would not want to. When we record this and I edit it back, I'm like, oh boy, I talk a lot on these things.
Yeah, you do.
Love your guys' insights and opinions. I've literally laughed out loud. The first film came out when I was in high school. It was everything, and I raced everyone. My buddy Chris in his Ford Escort wagon and me and my Dodge Colt would straight tear it up and quote Fast and Furious constantly. Good times. Was I a loser? Well, LOL.
I don't think so. My friend had what did my friend... No, he didn't have an Escort. He had like a Probe or something. But that's cool. Okay.
We once drove to Nopi in Atlanta. N-O-P-I. Do you know what that is?
Nopi in it. Probably like some car meetup or something. I'm guessing like something. No, but I don't know what it is.
Nopi Nationals is a national super show.
Okay.
So, super show in Myrtle Beach Speedway. So it's just crazy fancy cars. Okay.
The one that I always know about is SEMA because Zach's cousin always goes to SEMA, which is like the big like car parts one, and they have like a huge tuner division there too.
Gotcha.
It's like all aftermarket parts for cars. Well, also OEM, but yeah, it's car parts.
Okay.
Okay.
We went to the Nopi in Atlanta and got to take pictures with the skyline with the door on the wrong side and everything. That was cool. R.I.P. Paul Walker for sure. I always pour out a Corona mainly because they suck, but, for the buster.
If we like beers, you gotta drink some Corona sometimes for the family.
I now live in Central California with lots of straightaways to race other soccer dads whose egos just can't take a rev and appeal from a stoplight. I don't really, quote, street race, but it's fun to get other people's feathers ruffled.
It is, yeah, I agree. That's pretty cool.
He's just living that life of
Brian
in Furious 7, yeah.
Exactly, with the van. That's exactly what I was picturing.
Well, I feel like a fanboy going on and on, but your pod is really getting me through a suck-ass shift at work, so thanks. Well, you're welcome. And I understand that you love these movies, but there's so many more episodes of us if you want to... I mean, if you catch up on all these, we got 35 episodes of Zack Attack. If you like Zac Efron movies, we got like 13 about Ryan Gosling and 13 about Channing Tatum, so...
They're all not the same thing, but pretty similar.
They're the same thing. It's the same thing about different things.
Exactly. So just pick a movie that you might have seen or liked, and if you want to get through a sucky shift, I promise we're doing the same bullshit there. Stick with us. I'm glad that's awesome. I'm really happy that you wrote in, too.
So he says, I play a game, and maybe you guys would like to play, and maybe you will mention it on the pod.
Ooh.
Of course, why not?
Yeah.
You wrote in. We can read it out loud. If you want to get read out loud, family@cageclub.me.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to, but basically you try to name the make and model. This is a game that I would not be good at, Joe.
Okay.
You try to name the make and model of the car in the opposite lane as quickly as you can. Sounds easy, but it gets crazy, especially if you're going very fast.
On the highway, yeah.
He says, not really a highway game, but running kids to school breaks up the monotony. Prius, Explorer, some kind of Mazda, some kind of BMW, GMC something, LOL. I only give myself a half a point if I can just get the make, but it's fun and challenging, especially in different light. Headlights and grills are pretty unique once you start paying attention.
Yeah, very true. Zach and I kind of play this game together when he's driving. He's always looking in the opposite lane and always be like, oh, damn, Ferrari. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever we see. Like, we do, randomly see Ferraris. So he'll be like, oh, that's that new Corvette. Because he notices this a lot. So I think that he's playing it with himself a lot of the time. And then I'm just, like, covering my side that we're passing. But, yeah. But, no, that is a cool game. And I think I unconsciously do this to an extent. But I could actively do it. I'm down.
Yeah, just next time you drive here or next time you drive on a long ride with Rachel, just play the game. And she'd be like, what are you doing? Be like, listen to the pod, baby.
Exactly.
He says, all right, we'll try naming cars as fast as you can, and maybe I will hear about it on the pod. It's a challenge. Until next time, your friend, Dan.
I'll try to put it into practice this week, Dan, and I'll get back to you on how hard it was.
We have to recap that, too.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Final email tonight from Wes. Subject line, Master of My Fate.
Oh.
What up, fam? Great episode about a very sad movie last time. It's funny, but it only just hit me when you guys were discussing it. I'm really going to miss Mike on the show after this lap.
Oh, we need to tell him.
Wes.
Okay.
Wes. Oh, actually, so I've been watching, because it's short, I just sort of want something to half watch while I work. I've been watching Nailed It. Have you ever watched Nailed It on Netflix?
No.
So Nailed It
you know what? I
is a
did
show-
watch it. Is it the baking one that they have to do, like, the shitty
The crazy cakes, and they're amateur bakers, and they're all terrible?
Yes, I did watch
by
it.
Nicole Byer.
We were watching it on Netflix in Italy, like, late at night when we were, like, done. It was something that we would watch. Go ahead.
It's just mindless fun,
Totally
and Nicole Byer's
mindless.
funny, and
Yeah.
like it's and Jacques, her co-host, is great. Anyway, I just realized that's a show about baking, and the production assistant or whatever, like the producer, the one that Nicole Byer always hits on, his name is Wes. And so it's a show about baking with Wes in the background. So just like Wes's real life.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah.
I know he's not part of the mailbag section, so tell him I said hi, and he's been a great guest.
We will.
We've told Mike a couple times to listen to the opening because he gets shout-outs a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does or not, but Mike, are you listening? Email us, family@cageflip.me.
Yeah, why don't you write in, Mike?
He says, if you ever decide to bring in a permanent third chair, we will never do that. He would be an excellent choice, which I agree with. If we ever did it to a third, he'd absolutely be at the top of the list.
Yeah, Mike would be like number one choice, for sure.
Well, number one, Vin Diesel. Number two, The Rock.
Paul Walker.
Number three, Paul, R.I.P.
R.I.P. But then Mike is like on the short list. He's definitely on the short list.
I hope you guys enjoyed Fate of the Furious more this time around. I did. We'll get into that later. It's not the best, but it still has some fun moments. I was thinking about it recently, and unfortunately, I think part of the problem with this movie is the same problem I have with a lot of movie franchises now, especially the MCU. Everybody knows too much about the process of making the movie. So many Endgame or MCU Phase 4 predictions are based on actor contracts and film announcements and things like that. So it's impossible to go into a movie with no expectations. It severely lowers the stakes in a lot of plots. Even if you don't seek out the stuff, it's constantly everywhere and impossible to avoid.
True.
I think F8 had a similar problem where the feud between Vin Diesel and The Rock may have brought some publicity, but it also overshadowed the movie and now the franchise as a whole. It makes some awkward scenes even more noticeable and put a lot of external pressure on a movie that people are already eager to pick apart as the first one, aside from 3, without Paul Walker.
True.
But on the other hand, this same problem with the filmmaking process being so transparent, it's also what made Furious 7 so poignant, knowing that like it was Paul Walker's last movie and that there was all this behind the scenes stuff and everything, right?
Yeah, fair.
So I guess it could be a double-edged sword. Anyway, enough ranting. Here are my new episode observations.
Okay.
I think that's a really good point, though, because like we're a week away from Endgame. Endgame comes out on Thursday night as you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Disney just announced the Disney Plus streaming service, and then we know that there's going to be like a WandaVision series, there's going to be a Loki series, there's going to be a Hawkeye series.
Really?
People are like, oh, I guess those people live, but like they also could be back in time. Like I don't know anything because I'm going in as blind as I can, but like Hawkeye could die in Endgame and he could still have a series about him, the leading up to it. You know what I mean?
True.
Like it doesn't always have to be. It is tough.
The most bullshit thing about Marvel is that like they're like already running trailers for the new Spider-Man.
That wasn't their choice. They wanted to keep that. They didn't want to put it next. Apparently that was Sony's decision.
It's still fucking stupid, like.
I know. So in the world in which we live, again, spoilers for Infinity War, but Spider-Man is dead.
Yeah.
Like he was snapped. So he's not in Endgame, or at least not in the beginning of Endgame until they unsnap people or whatever, right? And yet we know this July new Spider-Man movie's coming out. Like,
yeah,
we know
like
that
in
Spider-Man's
2 months.
not dead.
Yeah. So like he can't be dead. It's just
but
annoying.
like he was never gonna be dead. But still, like it's just annoying. So there's another show on our network, a newer show, HTML, Husbands Talking More or Less, where Kevo and Nico are going through the MCU. They're starting off and then they're gonna transition to other stuff. But they talked about how like Marvel didn't want to have Far From Home be the first movie. They wanted to do a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think, or something. They want to have some other movie there, and then like because Spider-Man was gone after Infinity War, right? And so it is just weird to see like he looks totally normal and fine and everything in the trailer. It's annoying. Man. It's frustrating.
I agree. That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's this constant, incessant promo and the speed at which they come out that they have to do this.
Yep.
And I get that they have to do it and like milk it and make as much money as possible, but at the same time, it's like Jesus, like you're just ruining shit by doing this. So you lose some of it.
Yeah, definitely. The more I think about the No Knees Denise topic, again, Wes writing in, No Knees Denise will never die.
Apparently not.
We might have to have a No Knees Denise lap at some point.
I wish it was like a through line now, like in more than just like one movie quickly.
The more I think about the No Knees Denise topic, the more confused and unsure I feel. I mean, now
that
we know Wells' take, I mean, maybe you're going to be even more confused. Who knows?
Yeah.
At this point, the only thing I know for sure is that it's meant to be a slight against Roman, which we all agree about.
Yeah, we agree.
And he takes offense to it. That's it.
No, that's true. Like, Wes got down to like the logical basis of this. The only two truths we know are that it's a slight against Roman and that he's offended by this comment. That's the only thing that we can be for sure of.
I actually searched for Chris Morgan on Twitter to ask him directly, since he probably wrote that scene, but it doesn't look like he has one. On the one, so we have a new goal in life: get a hold of Chris Morgan and be like, "What's up with Denise?"
Exactly. Hopefully.
On the one hand, this whole discussion makes me think no matter what the answer is, I won't feel good about it, because it's almost certainly a regrettable and degrading comment about this girl Roman dated. But on the other hand, the mystery. So I like the optimism there.
I hope that we don't find out what No Name's Denise means, because it could be something really dumb, and then we'll all just be let down, and we spent like 45
also,
minutes.
if we have an answer, we can never have a discussion about it again.
True. Yeah. Then we'll just be like, oh no, it means this, and then it's just lame. Like, we can't keep butt stuff. It could be butt stuff right now, but we just don't know.
It's probably not butt stuff, but maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? That's what I'm saying.
That deleted scene with Letty and Giselle that you mentioned is pretty good. I can see why it got cut. Maybe next lap. So next lap we're going to do sort of some fill-in episodes. We're going to do Turbocharged and Los Bandoleros. Maybe I'll also watch the deleted scenes too and see what's going on there. Because I love the idea. I love knowing that there's Fast and Furious stuff out there that has been like professionally made that I haven't seen yet. Like, it's exciting to know that it's out there. You know what I mean? So
like fan
maybe
fiction.
next lap.
Exactly.
I can see why it got cut, because the process of Letty recovering her memories isn't really explored in this already very long movie, and that's primarily what the scene is about, but it's worth looking up. If I remember correctly, I think it's supposed to take place after she runs away from Race Wars, but I could be wrong. It just adds a little wrinkle to Letty's story.
I'm excited that we're finally getting to the point where, like, we can watch all the background stuff, because, like, I think I'm getting solid. No, we always could, but I think I'm getting solid in the basis of the movies, like, to where, you were talking to Rachel today, and she said they kind of all blend together, and I'm like, no, after this lap, like, I have firm structure to, like, what movie, like, you know what I mean? Like, my brain's like, oh no, that's definitely this one or this one.
Yep.
And we're sitting there, it's really weird, like, I'll be talking to my friends, and they'll be like, yeah, it's like that one Fast and Furious. I'm like, oh, 5. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll just mention something, and I'll just be like, yeah, it's definitely this movie. And they're like, no, and promise you, it's in that one. Like,
at some point, you're going to be like, it's an hour and 7 minutes and 11 seconds in. Dom turns to the camera and says,
exactly.
I got you, babe.
Exactly. Yeah, but they're like, really? I'm like, there's no person, like, I shouldn't be the one that you're arguing this with. Like,
Ronda Rousey's a badass and seems like a nice enough person, but I've never seen her give a good acting performance.
Ever.
My first experience seeing her on screen was The Expendables 3, which I think I saw and I forget 100% of. I think I forget 100% of all 3 Expendables movies. I don't know. But
fair. He
says, and I really, really wanted her to do well and become a new kick-ass action star, but it was just hard to watch. I agree. Like,
just
we
like
never
a wrestling
root for failure. It's a bummer.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for it. Like, I wish she's, like, a really great WWE star. They're trying to make her one. Like, I'm all for the, strong women in the WWE women's movement, but, like, God, she's just so painful to watch all the time.
I wonder how much of her decision to become this crossover star is her. How much is, like, her agent, and how much is just, like, oh, this is just what you do next. Like, she did the MMA thing, was the greatest in the world for a while, lost and sort of, lost her title there, but then you sort of have to think, like, well, what's next? And it's this crossover into acting and WWE and all this different stuff, and maybe she never wanted that, because I feel like if she wanted that, maybe that's where her life would have gone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she would have taken acting classes, or had, like, if the stuff in, like, Fighting With My Family, where they have these, like, wrestling schools or whatever you go
like
to,
NXT and stuff like that. Yeah.
I love picking apart the timeline of movies almost as much as I love picking apart time travel mechanics in movies. It's a weird sort of paradox where I relish breaking down the properties I enjoy the most because I love them so much. I want to know Wes's favorite time travel movies. Primer is great. Time Crimes is great. Looper is good.
Looper's good.
Yeah, let us know. Family at CageClub.me. Wes or anybody else. What's your favorite time travel movies?
Ooh.
I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's almost like I want to know everywhere they went wrong so I can get a handle on just how unrealistic their world is and understand it better. That being said, their timeline is real loose. But I agree, Elena had to have been pregnant during the opening scene, so Hobbs technically saved 2 lives that night.
Ooh. Good point. I didn't consider that. Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of the opening, I always assumed Hobbs was sweating more than usual while doing paperwork because he had just gotten done with the workout. All the clues are there. Pristine white towel over his shoulder. Too tight Under Armour shirt without sleeves.
True.
As opposed to the ones with tiny cap sleeves he normally wears. Cargo pants, combat boots, normal workout stuff. I do like a world in which, like, he works out in his, like, casual, like, let me get to work clothes is cargo pants and combat boots. Like, not, sweats and, like flip-flops or whatever, just, like, like, combat boots and cargo pants. This is how I get comfortable.
He's like, when I put sleeves on, that means I'm at work. When I don't have sleeves on, That means I'm not at work.
Little sleeves or no sleeves.
Exactly.
I won't spoil your necklace tracking lap, which is next lap, but I can verify that they do show exactly how Owen came to be in possession of the necklace in Fast and Furious. Why he's holding it in his hospital bed, I can't say, but at least you know why he had it.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about watching background characters and how much it changes a movie. There used to be a podcast that ended a few months ago called I Was There Too, which, for the record, was one of my favorite podcasts of all time.
Okay.
He got to episode 100, he just stopped doing it. But Matt Gorley, which he talks about, is he's super funny, but he's also a great interviewer. Like, it's just awesome. It's about interviewing the background characters of movies, not like the stars extras or everything, but just, people who were there to talk about the great scenes of film in cinema history.
That's really cool. How did he know these people or find them?
So he started off he talked to Paul F. Tompkins, who's a friend and a fellow comedian, about being in There Will Be Blood. He talked to Paul Rust about being in Inglourious Basterds. He would have this thing at the end of every episode where he would talk about, if you can connect me to someone who does this kind of thing, you can sit in the studio while I interview them. So my aunt was whoever in whatever, or my neighbor, or this guy I know, or whatever, and he just sort of connects that way. And then I think because as the show became more and more popular, because it was on Earwolf, I think just people he never had huge names, but he had people that he was his dream guest was the woman who was down in the well in Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So he finally, the last episode, he interviewed her, and it was this sort of real big release or whatever. He's just this is my dream guest. He also interviewed everybody on the bus in Speed. Okay. He interviewed a bunch of people in the movie Aliens. He's just it's all these really cool, really huge cool movies, little actors.
That's awesome.
No small parts, just small actors.
Amen.
But these are all great actors. Okay, he says, concept was interviews with actors who had small roles in big scenes or movies. Some of the best examples are the woman with the baby carriage from the train station scene in The Untouchables, or Phil Lamar as Marvin in Pulp Fiction. That was a really good episode where he's just I was just standing there as Samuel L. Jackson is screaming at me. It was really good.
That's awesome.
The host, Matt Gorley, is one of the best celebrity interviews I've ever heard, and he talked a lot about how watching these movies to prepare for the show, but focusing on one specific character in a scene, or especially their entire arc, if they were in the whole movie, is kind of crazy and can really change your perspective on a film. Ever since then, I tend to focus a lot more on background actors and background action, because sometimes you can get blessed with a truly weird or wonderful thing most people probably would never have noticed. Yeah. I mean, I was saying, pumping a fist and whatever, just what is happening in this movie? You know what I mean? I was also thinking for future laps, you could do a character lap, but I don't know if there's any character that's in all the movies, but just be okay, this lap we're trying to focus exclusively on
I don't think there's anybody that's in every
there's
episode.
Not.
Yeah.
But we can maybe come up with pairings of people who could cover all 8 or something. Who knows? But
Yeah.
You mentioned Jason Statham couldn't do Fast and Furious 6 because of other filming commitments. According to IMDb, the 2 films he was working on were Blitz and Parker. As I've mentioned, I'm a big fan, and he's what brought me back into the Fast and Furious family. I've slowly been making my way through his filmography, and coincidentally, I sort of watched both of those last weekend. Blitz I'd seen before and didn't realize until halfway through the movie, so it was very memorable, as a joke.
Yeah.
Parker is actually pretty good and surprisingly bloody. Plus, Jason Statham does a pretty bad Texas accent for part of it, and that's always fun.
He does a Texas accent?
I think I watched Parker. Is Parker with Jennifer Lopez? I think, there's a couple of these movies that I really like that Jason Statham did recently. Mike was talking about the Mechanic movies.
Yeah.
Jason Statham has made some, real bad movies lately, but he's also made some, really good, and, they all kind of go unnoticed. They're all...
That's cool.
Not straight to VOD, but just, sort of not marketed well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it.
I had to turn it off with about 30 minutes left, and I haven't been able to finish it yet, and it's really bugging me. That's it for this episode. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on what is maybe the most consistent entry in the series. Until next time, stay furious.
Well, thank you, Wes, for writing in. I appreciate your email, and hopefully now you know that no needs to nieces about butt stuff.
Thank you to everybody who wrote in. Family@cageclub.me. Thank you, Dan, for writing in. Thank you, Wells. Thank you, Wes. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the Relap Recap. Get your email read on there, family@cageclub.me. Okay, before we take a break, before we bring in Mike.
Yes.
On the streets, is there any news that you have about the world of the Fast and Furious? We have the new trailer coming out tomorrow, as we're recording this. Anything else that you've seen that you want to talk about?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson made Time's top 100 list.
Of most influential people?
Yeah. It seems like... Wait, let's see. Yeah, 100 most influential people of 2019. So, our man, Luke Hobbs, is very influential. So
cool. I mean, no denying that.
Yeah.
I'm going to also do our segment here, Rock the Vote, where I'm going to search on Google Dwayne Johnson President. Top story that comes up is the Time 100 list of most influential people. So that's nothing. Yep. Also going to search The Rock President. There's a there's a story from the National Review, running for president for fun and profit, which I think was what, someone who was elected did, and then actually got elected, and things went awry.
He has a shot then. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. The Rock is lovable, man. And plus he could I want to see him arm wrestle like Trudeau or something, right?
Ooh, yeah, and get crushed.
That's yeah. I'm just saying, I want to see him arm wrestle some of these people. I think it'd be pretty funny.
New lap observations, last thing on this lap before we take a break. I've got a bunch of things I want to talk about later. Let me see if I can pick up one. Do you have something that you want to talk about now? Something quick to get off your chest before we bring in Mike?
I wanted to say that I have a new lap observation that ties into my drinking a lot, which is as I was watching it this time, I was wondering how Hobbs got into jail. Why is Hobbs in jail?
I think they got busted. I think they all got busted.
But why is Hobbs in jail? And Hobbs is it's just Hobbs in jail with Jason Statham.
At the soccer game, that guy comes up who Hobbs threatens to kick in the tay-tay.
Yeah.
And he says, if you get busted here, you go to prison. And so maybe because he said that, he had to get arrested?
I don't know.
Or the other alternative is that he's such a stand-up guy that, the cops showed up, he didn't want to run from the cops.
Fair. That scene came on, and I was like, how do I get here? You know what I mean? I didn't know. That was my new lab observation. I was like, I love this fight scene, but, how did we ever wind up here? Maybe Mike knows better. I don't know.
I don't think it shows. I don't think they show.
He just goes to jail.
Because that whole Berlin scene is them escaping, right? But it's just we don't see the action. We just see the getaway. It's all just this is what's happening. We need to get from point A to point G or whatever, and just skip everything in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
My new theory about why I don't like this movie as much as the rest of them, and I think this is something that we've talked about.
Aren't you gonna save this part to talk about?
No, because it's not a wholly new thought. But every episode this lap, for the post on cageclub.me and our first social media posts, I've been getting a picture of two people in a car, right? It's always the ride-along, because Mike is with us, we're just pretending that we're driving him around, whatever. There's only two scenes in this entire movie where there's two people in a car. Ramsey doesn't drive, so Ramsey always gets driven around. But it's Tej and Ramsey, or at the end it's Letty and Ramsey. And at the end, in that same scene where Letty is driving Ramsey around the ice, after Roman loses his car, The Rock or Hobbs is driving him around. At no other point in this movie are two people in a car, which is not a bad thing on its own.
No.
But we've talked about in the past how this movie feels so much like that ride that we went on in Orlando, which was cool, but it was clearly everybody did their parts separately and they stitched it all together. But there's not really, it doesn't feel like a sense of family here, and not just because Dom's not part of it, but it feels like it's just so widely people not filming scenes together, which we know Vin Diesel and The Rock didn't film scenes together.
Yeah.
But it just feels like everything about this is there's no sense that they were ever in the same room. The camera shots, the angles, the way that people are just getting from place to place, it just feels everything is so separated. And I feel like that is a very sort of specific articulation of what I don't like about this. I like the movie more than I ever have, but it feels like more clearly to me than ever that they're not all together.
That's a good observation. Yeah, it doesn't feel familial to me. Not as familiar as some of the other ones do. That's for sure.
And we've talked about it before. That's why I didn't want to really say it, because it's not a brand new idea, but it's just this clearer. When I was finally looking for a picture, it's it never happens. It just doesn't happen, which is sort of annoying. But anyway, we'll take a quick break. We'll bring in the Mikestir for his final. We're approaching our destination. It's up here on the right in about 90 minutes, but we will bring him in, talk about Fate of the Furious, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever, the podcast about Fast and Furious forever. This is some episode in the 30s.
30 exactly.
Oh, cool. Fate of the Furious, the final ride with the Mikestir. And this episode is brought to you by Symantec Corporation. Symantec is an American software company headquartered in Mountain View, California, the United States. The company provides cybersecurity software and services. Symantec is a Fortune 500 company and a member of the S&P 500 stock market index. The company has also developed centers in Pune, Chennai, and Bengaluru.
Cool. Shout out Symantec. Thank you for protecting this podcast from Cypher.
Exactly, yeah. And then our cars and our computers.
With us today, as he has been the last 7 episodes, and I made the joke before I think I made it last episode too, but maybe before we took the break. But Mike, your destination is approaching on the right here in about 90 minutes. We've got the Mikestir. Hello, Mikestir.
Hey, everybody. Can I just say one thing? I just got to say, raise up a cup for all my day ones, 2 middle fingers for the haters. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just had to get that out.
I was hoping this was just going to turn into karaoke.
That's way more lyrics than I know, I can tell you that much.
We put the good in the good in the good life.
You're supposed to sing that at the end, though. Like, that's our outro music, because that's how the movie ends.
Wait. I mean, I might forget. I just had to get it out. But thank you guys so much for having me back.
Well, we've already talked about this movie with you over on our Watch the Throne podcast. I mean, we had a very narrow focus, but we've already talked about The Fate of the Furious once already. So this is now a retread of our podcast that is entirely a retread. So
yeah, well, there's that whole chunk we don't need to talk about, really, the Cypher stuff. You guys,
Amen.
Go check it out over on that other episode.
Which, thank God, if we don't have to talk about it, that is totally fine for me. Okay, Mike, before we get into the discussion, before we get into the questions, we've got to close out the list of questions that we have. There's some either-or questions that we've not asked you yet. So before we get into your favorite parts of this movie, your least favorite parts, our driving scenes, all that sort of stuff, we've got to do the last ones. Okay, so here we go. Would you rather die in a fiery explosion or by being submerged in icy water?
Oh, somehow, let's see, fire or ice?
A song of fire and ice.
I almost want to say drowning, but then I remember that drowning isn't like going home, that Michael Caine was lying in the Prestige. Sorry, spoilers, Prestige a little bit. But I have to say burning, because I've mentioned before on other podcasts, I just think that imagery is incredibly crazy looking. So like to be a part of that, for someone to see me running on fire or something.
Oh, so you're just going for pure badassery. You're just flexing for the gram here. You just want to be the best Instagram picture you could get.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, it's gonna look crazy too. Yeah, I'd say go burn me alive. Plus, I think it'd be quicker. Just get. That
I think so
with.
too. I think you'd suffocate from burning.
So it would look cool, and it would be quick.
Yeah, I'd like that.
And there's only one other question. It's a brand new question tonight, Mike.
I just came up with it today.
No one has been asked this question.
Okay.
Just for you.
I don't want to give a context of how we're asking this, because I want this to be... They're all open to interpretation by the answerer, but I think this one especially...
Can I deliver it?
I want you to deliver it with no extra words, just the question. Exactly what you
But I can deliver it like it was delivered, right?
Sure.
Who would you rather have? Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
Who would I rather have?
I want you to answer what movie would you rather... What movie would you rather?
Well, that was too many words. I just wanted to ask Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight with no context, and however you want it, which movie you like more, if you'd rather fuck a nerd or Christian Bale. But I want it to be whatever you want it to be.
I have to say The Dark Knight for several reasons. First, it's Roman, so I guess, I'd have to pick Roman over Tej, sorry.
Okay.
Second, I mean, yeah, it's an amazing movie. Like, it's Revenge of the Nerds is
so
funny
is Revenge
and
of the
stuff,
Nerds.
but I have a feeling if you watch Revenge of the Nerds now, like, it just doesn't hold up in many of those 80s ways, too. It's very cringy at times.
It's really cringy,
and it's fucking Batman, so, like, give me a break. Like, I gotta go with The Dark Knight. Yeah, wow. Well, thank you guys for unveiling that question. And letting me
just came up with it.
Let me do it. It's funny. Watching this one, I thought of a Joe question because it finally made sense to me. Either driving out of a plane or driving into a plane. This is the one when Dom drives into the plane, and I always thought he was referring to 6 for some reason when they were all.
Dom drives into a plane in 6 too.
Yeah, there's a moment where Dom's driving on the runway and Cypher's plane comes down, and like just sort of the back comes down, and Dom drives into it, and it just takes right off again.
Oh, there is that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 6 versus 7.
We're always referring to 6.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't even realize it happened again in this movie. So
I didn't realize it happened twice until you just said it right now.
So, because I was like, oh, that question makes so much more sense now because it happens multiple times. But
I didn't realize it happened.
The one in this movie is not really an action scene. It's just a way for him to get away. Like, it's supposed to be like which of these crazier kind of things, trying to get into a plane that's taking off that doesn't want you to be on there, or trying to get out of a plane via car.
Got it.
So, all questions answered. Joe, you and I are going to have to answer that question on the recap episode next time. Some news that Joe's friend at work has been incredibly lazy. We do not have a new refined quiz yet, so Mike, maybe by the time you join us for Hobbs and Shaw, we'll have a new quiz, but,
All right. This is sort of the Hobbs and Shaw prequel in a lot of ways.
Amen.
Definitely setting that
One
up.
of the things about the trivia was there was supposed to be a Hobbs and Shaw mid-credit scene, and Vin Diesel cut it.
That's true.
What?
I heard that it was like a big rumor that there
That's
was
what's on
gonna be
IMDb.
Say this again?
In a lot of the movies recently, there has been a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene, right? Where it's like...
Letty's still alive.
Letty is
Dun,
still
Yeah,
alive,
okay,
or
okay.
Jason
Yeah,
Statham's
yeah.
there, or whatever.
Khan's dead. Dun, dun, dun.
That there was supposed to be in this one a scene in the credits basically announcing Hobbs and Shaw, but Vin Diesel cut it.
Wow.
This is the one where
Aggressive.
The Rock and Vin Diesel just did not get along on this one, right? Like you could kind of see from the way it's shot, if you know that there's a lot of trickery where they're just not filming at the same time. Like, they're just not in the same shot.
Allow me a cipher-length monologue right here to read a piece of trivia from IMDb.
Okay.
A week before filming ended, Dwayne Johnson had a secret meeting with co-star and executive producer Vin Diesel to address personal and professional issues between the two. This happened after Diesel reportedly canceled some of Johnson's planned scenes at the last minute, which is just, that sucks. I mean, I get that this is
shitty.
your franchise, but still.
Yeah.
On several
Don't be a dick
occasions,
about
Diesel
it.
also reportedly refused to show up to the set as he was scheduled, leaving hundreds of cast, crew, and extras waiting for him on set for more than 6 hours.
Whoa, Vin
Kind of
Diva?
diva-y. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Wow.
Diva, for sure.
In response to this, Dwayne posted on Instagram, quote, "This is my final week of shooting hashtag Fast and Furious 8. There's no other franchise that gets my blood boiling more than this one. An incredibly hardworking crew. Universal has been great partners as well," which I love that he's just like, how am I going to give a shout out to, like, who gives me the checks? Universal? Okay, shout out Universal. My female co-stars are always amazing and I love them. My male co-stars, however, are a different story.
Whoa.
Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. The ones that don't are too chicken shit to do anything about it anyway. Candy asses.
Whoa, that was aggressive.
That is
I don't remember that.
When you watch this movie next April and it seems like I'm not acting in some of these scenes, my blood is legit boiling, you're right. Bottom line is it'll play great for the movie and fits this Hobbs character that's embedded in my DNA extremely well. The producer in me is happy about this part. Final week on Fast 8 and I'll finish strong. Hashtag Iceman cometh. Hashtag F8. Hashtag zero tolerance for candy asses.
Wow.
But there's more.
This was...
What?
This
Diesel
was heavy.
confronted Johnson in the secret meeting one day after Dwayne's message was posted online. Johnson later told the Hollywood Reporter that the meeting cleared up a few things. He confirmed that he and Diesel did not shoot scenes together because of, quote, a fundamental difference in philosophies on how we approach filmmaking collaborating, but that he was, quote, grateful for that clarity.
That is political. Wow. That's crazy.
But that's also the thing, like, because Vin Diesel's just, like, not, like, he's just being, like, according to IMDb, according to The Rock, who knows, but, like, Vin Diesel's like, I'm just not going to show up, but Dwayne Johnson's like, well, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be professional, I'm not going to shit-talk Vin Diesel by name, I'm going to subtweet the fuck out of him, but I'm just going to be like, I know that I'm the politician of Hollywood, kind of,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Especially since it seemed like they they had such good chemistry in
Early
6,
on.
5 and 6, yeah, like at
Yeah.
least those two.
This goes on to say that Johnson stated that he will be doing the spin-off movie Hobbs and Shaw, but may pass on Fast and Furious 9, which we know that he is, wishing Diesel, quote, all the best, and I harbor no ill will there, just because of the clarity we have. Actually, you can erase that last part about no ill will, we'll just keep it with the clarity. So, like, he's basically saying,
Whoa.
fuck this guy. But yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty serious.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's... I don't remember it being that aggressive. I remember them not getting along. I didn't remember this, like, Instagram bullshit part of it.
I mean, it must have been tough on set in the first place, especially for the guys that have been there the longest without having Paul Walker being around. Like, there just had to have been, like, a weird energy. And then I could understand, like, how sort of there could be tension and stuff, but I never knew it got that crazy. I just heard it was, like, a little here and there, but I didn't know The Rock was posting stuff.
I think I remember, but I don't remember it being that intense.
Well, that's Hollywood, baby. Like,
Yeah.
they still got this movie made. It still looks good and stuff. And I mean, I still think The Rock is good in it.
He's not the problem that I have with this movie. I was saying, we were talking before you joined us, Mike, in the opening segment about how I like this movie more and more each time. I think the problem I have is that it's so isolated. Like, every character feels sort of apart, feels separated. The Rock stuff is all good. Like, all the Hobbs stuff is good. I don't mind that at all. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I love his soccer stuff. I love everything he's doing. It's the fact that they all feel like they're not filming the movie together. That they're all filming in separate scenes and just sort of getting it edited together. It just feels disjointed in that way.
Yeah, this one, it actually played a lot better for me this time than the last time I watched it. I was actually getting a real kick out of it. Aside from all of its sort of technical problems and issues and stuff like that, I also just feel there's way too much going on again. We have to get this device, then this device, then this device. And then there's the whole like evil Dom stuff, which I just feel like they could have done it a little better, maybe some kind of like mind control device or,
I just
think
I like that. That's a good, we never talked about that.
Because we've been going like the tech route and everything, or like Robo Dom, the evil robot twin. I don't know. I just feel like they could have done that
Wrath
cleaner.
of Khan style. We just full on just like mind control them. I like it.
It has lots of issues, but for some reason the highs, what works for me, like really works for me, and that is the action in this. I just think like even though it feels very disjointed, like all the action sequences are just, for me, it's just amazing. Like from the wrecking ball to the prison fight to whatever.
The prison fight's my favorite.
So now the question then, Mike, if you love all these action scenes, which car scene do you want to be a part of? And who do you want to drive you around in this movie? This is the last time.
Yeah. So I don't think I've taken a ride with him yet. I'm going to just go for a little cruise with Dominic Toretto this time.
Okay.
Ooh.
Maybe go get some shrimp, something like that. Actually, we're in New York, so we'll go get something New York style. Like maybe some hot dogs or something. Some pizza. That's good.
Street meat.
Exactly.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Cruise around with Dominic this time. For scene, it's funny, like, I mentioned, like, all the great action scenes and all that kind of stuff, but, like, they're so treacherous and dangerous. I was like, do I want to be a guy in one of the zombie cars, and it has to jump out? But these guys really don't get any love in the entire movie, so I want to be one of these dudes because you don't even know I'm there. I'm part of Cypher's tech support. Like, in the jet.
Yeah, the guy where he's like, there's 70,000 cars out there, and she's like, hack them all. He's like, okay, and just types.
Yeah,
like
there's
that guy.
The one kid with the peroxide hair, and then there's like two other dudes sitting there, and only the one kid has like a couple lines, I think. So I'll be one of the other guys without any lines that just sort of like sits in the shadow of Ramsey's plane, like fake hacking away, but really playing.
Listening to Too Fast, Too Forever.
Right, yeah, correct. Yeah, so that's me. I just put myself in the corner.
Joe, what about you? What car scene do you want to be a part of, and who do you want to drive you around?
Oh, car scene.
Yeah, I kind of cheated by going plane, but it's my last appearance, so.
No, but Dom drives like the Charger around, that's fine. I think that I want to be Roman on the door kind of situation. It's like I'm being like driven by Tej, but not really. Like I want all Flash in this one.
Okay.
That's what I want. So that's like kind of the car in the scene that I want. I want to be both. I want to be in both in this one.
Nice, doubled up again.
Yeah, just doubling up. Like I want to be in that scene, like after all of the like ice wars, and I want to be on the door of the Lambo. Just out there.
It's crazy how Roman-centric that final action sequence is, from like sneaking in to the sub and them attacking him.
He's strong part of this movie.
Yeah, and even him and Mr. or Little Nobody have like a little, I didn't even notice it until this watch, like they have a rivalry going, or at least Roman's picking on him the whole movie.
I think because Roman just has a rivalry with everybody. Like I didn't realize that until this time either. Like I agree with you there, but just, like he just has to like give shit to everybody. Like that's just who he is. Apparently they were both friends with Paul Walker, both Scott Eastwood and Tyrese, so they're kind of
so they are buddies,
busting each other like they are from Too Fast, but like I still don't know. It still feels weird. Like it's not like the Tej Roman beef has been resolved. Like they still are fighting over Ramsey, even though it's very clear that she's not going to date either of them.
Yeah. And it's a little weird. Are they just trying to team Roman up with another white guy or something? Because I do feel like his relationship with Brian was special and was sort of like built upon, throughout the past movies and stuff. And and like when Brian catches him with his car in that one movie, and they're like, yeah, I'm like, all right, best friends, like forever, So
and
like,
they were best friends. Like they were like serious friends too. So like it just bleeds through the movie. I agree.
Yeah, so like he always needed to bounce off of somebody, right? Like he never really worked alone. As much as I love him as a character, I just noticed that about him. So I think maybe they're trying to give him someone to bounce off of in this movie.
That would make sense. I would agree with that.
So Joe, you said both your answers are that ice scene. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I want. I was gonna say like I would want to be on the plane too, and then Mike took it when I was thinking about it. I think the ice scene is the coolest, and that's what I would want to do.
Well, I think really the problem with this movie is there's not a lot of car scenes, really.
There's really not that many, to be honest.
No.
As much as there's action, there's not a lot of like car
There's the
action.
Cuban Mile. You know, we start with that. That's really great.
Ooh, but like I feel like you can't be a part, because like especially you can't be riding with Dom, because like he's like, I'm gonna cut off all the extra weight, but yeah, you could just sit next to me in this car.
You could maybe ride with like the tow truck driver guy.
You could be one of the motorcyclists that are like stopping traffic, but I guess that doesn't really count. But,
yeah.
Then there's the wrecking ball scene, which I only noticed a smiley face this time.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Oh, yeah, okay. I've seen that before too.
And then the zombie cars. I think that's it, really. And then
zombie cars and ice scene. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I it's not really. I don't know if this is the spirit of the rules that we're doing, but
I know exactly what you're gonna say. Can I say it before you do?
Sure.
You want to be the baby carried by Jason Statham?
Oh, I would love that. That's not what I was thinking.
That's amazing.
Oh, I thought that's what you were gonna say. Like you want to be like in the baby carriage, listening to the Chipmunks, and have Jason Statham running around like fighting with you.
No, I want it to be in a zombie car being driven by Cypher. But like I have a open line of communication with her. Like, what's going on, lady?
Oh, you're just like talking to her?
Yeah, just friends with her, because like she's not. Actually, I take that back, because I want nothing to do with Charlize Theron in this movie. Because as much as we like her and as much as we like a lot of her movies, she's not good in this. Like, she's the worst part of this movie, which is really frustrating.
I agree.
Actually, on the sort of not the flip side of that, but another thing on the trivia is that Helen Mirren loved these movies so much that like she would just go on talk shows and talk about how she just wanted to be in the Fast and Furious. And then she went on Graham Norton and said it again, and Vin Diesel caught wind of it and wrote her into this movie. But she basically just like, hey, I want to be in the movie. I want to be a bad guy. She just willed
herself into the movies.
That's amazing.
It's pretty badass. I wish we had that power, right? We'd like talk about them all the time. Like, hey, Vin Diesel, if you're listening to this podcast right now, I want to be in a Fast and the Furious movie.
That was what I was thinking, that we should like officially declare here and now, Vin Diesel, if you hear this, we want to be in your movies. Although, to be fair, How Did This Get Made did that same thing. Like, they've said over and over again that they want to be in these movies, and they're not in the movies. So I don't know.
And they're like real people.
Yeah, and they're with a real podcast. But, you know. By the way, we did not do our other game. I looked. If you review us on iTunes, we will read this out loud. No new reviews on iTunes. So, email family@cageclub.me. Leave us a review on iTunes. Let Vin Diesel know that we want to be in this movie. Those are your three things. Those are your three homeworks. Oh, the other thing I want to say about Helen Mirren, while we're on the topic of that, is that, I don't know if we ever talked about it in the past, she gets the fuck. She says she's fucking thirsty.
Yeah,
a cup of tea.
Oh, I totally missed that. No, I didn't catch that at all.
I loved about that, too, is that she's supposed to be, not manners, but like...
proper English woman.
Yeah, like, well, Jason's, like, she's mean, you know, and tough, but, like, her sons, like, cower to her and things. And she's like, she reminds me kind of like of Mom on Futurama, if you know that show. Where,
oh,
like,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and... to hear the F-bomb come from her was kind of jarring, but appropriate.
If you think about that, like the servants or whatever, Mom's little boys are like these cowering like little wimps. In this world, it's the Shaw brothers, and like they're the most menacing villains that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And so I think that just gives you an impression of like her backstory. Like, what did she go through?
She's just your mom, dude. You're always gonna be scared of your mom. Like if she was being serious.
They're almost like the British Fratellis from the Goonies, right? Where like that mom was real mean and tough, and she had to sort of like, well, they were kind of bumbling, but you know, he had Joey Pants and the other guy. I just love that dynamic that mom's running.
I do
the show.
too. It's a really great. That's a really great character trait. I like it too. That they're like super scary and she's scarier than them.
Because I think she wanted, like, I think her real request is to be a bad guy carrying a gun around. But I think this is kind of more vague and menacing and ominous. Yeah, that like she doesn't need the gun to be scary. She can just, you know, curse off Vin Diesel with a cup of tea in her hand, a cuppa. And you're terrified of her.
Well, she was in the Red movies, right? So she's kind of got a little bit of that history to her, and she's good in those movies too. Like those movies are kind of fun. I was really surprised. Bruce Willis, the youngest kid in those movies. Like,
now Bruce Willis is like what, 70 years old or something like that. Like, it's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit.
Let me think. What car scene do I want to be in? Who do I want to drive me around? I kind of don't want to be in the movie. Like that's kind of like where
that's
no.
fine.
I guess I kind of would want to be in. Like one of the cooler car scenes, I think, is when they all harpoon Dom's car, and I would just be like in one of those scenes with one of those people just to sort of like feel the torque, feel the tension of trying to like corral this like Mustang with 1,000 horsepower or whatever.
Cool.
And then to drive me around. No, I'll still go the Charlize thing. I still want to have her drive me around as long as I get to talk to her and just be like, why are you in this movie? What are you doing here? What's your real plan? Tell me in one sentence.
This time I was watching it and I noticed when we first see her, she's wearing red glasses, red lipstick, a red shirt, and Dom's working on a red car. And I'm just like, who the fuck was like the visual choreographer for this movie.
Well, red is a warning sign, right? So it's like
But it's like, come on, it's so much fucking red. I was like even like on the screen, I'm just like radiating. I'm like, can we just pick, like, can we have given her a different color? Like, thrown some, like, she could have done well with like the sway, red lipstick, bleach blonde hair, whatever, a black shirt. Like, why the fuck does it all have to be red?
And she gets a black shirt later, right?
Well, she has the Metallica metal up your ass shirt.
That's it.
Yeah, true.
Well, you know what I was thinking while we were all choosing who we'd want to ride around with? None of us thought of to drive Mr. Nobody around. That would be kind of fun for a day.
Well, I think I did last lap.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Did you?
Okay.
Because I channeled my inner you, because I was like, I want to be going from place to place, because he's got nowhere to be fast, and he's just like casually strolling from one place to another. Because I had that thought, because it's your kind of thought, where it's like the scenes that we don't see, just riding with Mr. Nobody.
Because I thought of it this time watching this movie, like, who's driving him around? Where does he go? And then we find out where he goes. We get his base of operations and stuff like
nowhere.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a giant, celestial head in the cosmos, but it'll do. Nowhere from Guardians. But
I'm really annoyed this time around that Little Nobody is not Zeph. Like, I don't know if we talked about that before, but like it should be Zeph.
I agree.
It almost
Should be Zac
feels
Efron.
like Eastwood's doing a bit of Zeph, if you know it. Like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but there's this sort of like, I'm confident and cocky.
Pompous righteousness?
Kind of like, I'm doing my job. I think I'm doing the right job, but it turns out like I'm doing too much. Like, he handcuffs them. Like,
It's him in the beginning of Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Yeah, you're right. He's like a goody, but also overly confident for no reason.
And then he finally learns the rules, a.k.a. don't talk to Hobbs about his daughter, and things unlock for him.
Pretty much.
There's another thing in the trivia I never thought about, was that obviously he's the son of Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood famous for playing the man with no name, and in these movies he has no name. So, following like father, like son. Thank you, IMDb, for pointing that out. I think it's kind of a cool, funny little coincidence.
Yeah, I wonder if we're ever going to find out his name, or maybe if that's... Do you think that's Kurt Russell's son in the movie? Like, is that Mr. Nobody's kid?
One thing that Mike's going to get that Joe will not, because I don't think he saw this movie yet, but Joe, did you see the new movie Serenity with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway?
Uh-oh.
No, I haven't.
Where's
oh my
this
God.
going?
It's so good. So in that movie, there is a guy whose name is The Rules. In this movie, Roman calls Little Nobody, or somebody calls him Rules, because he's like all about the rules and everything, and then Tej or Roman says, nah man, his name's Little Nobody. He's like, don't call me that. But I just love that they're like, oh, his name is Rules, because in Serenity, a batshit bonkers movie that I absolutely love, there's a character literally named The Rules, and so now I just want every movie to have somebody named Rules or The Rules in it.
And there's a Fast and Furious actor in that movie as well, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
Who is it?
The terrorist guy who kidnapped Ramsey in Part 7.
Mosey Jaconda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's in there.
So, Mike, I had a thought in this movie that sort of adds a wrinkle to a theory you had last episode.
Okay, all right.
So remember you were talking about how Dom always wants to talk about beer, and finally he finds someone in Mr. Nobody. He just wants to talk about beer. He's like, have you ever had that Belgian ale or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, maybe he just finally found his soulmate, a guy to talk about beer with him.
Okay.
In this movie, they go to Berlin, they steal the nuclear weapon or whatever, the weapon of mass destruction.
Nuclear football.
And they're getting away. And what is the last thing Hobbs says to Dom before Dom rams him off the road? When we get back to the base, beer's on me. And so he's like, I don't want to talk about beer, especially with The Rock. Fuck that guy. Run him off the road. Which is not a line that I ever would have thought about, but like you made like a cool point last time about, oh, he finally has a guy to talk about beer with, and here's Hobbs, here's The Rock, like, hey man, let's talk about beer, and then Tom's just like, fuck that, and just drives him off the road.
I already have my beer buddy. Yeah, get out of here with that. That's hilarious. I never would have gone there, but I love how you got there.
Yeah, I like the trip. It was a nice ride-along.
I love The Rock in this movie. I mean, Hobbs feels like fully formed now by the time we see him. Like, we think that he's giving a speech to you're supposed to believe he's giving like this speech to a bunch of military people or something. Like, they're going on a mission, and it turns out to be his daughter's soccer team. And then they do the haka stuff, which is just amazing. And then, the stuff with the mothers looking at him.
I love that scene, but at the same time, this movie's so fucking long.
But this goes back to, they're definitely setting up Hobbs Hobbs and Shaw, right? They're setting that movie up.
They're
going to spin him off, so they're going to spend a little extra time with him. And we've been spending a little more time with him at each movie, and last movie he kind of got written out of a lot of it. So they're kind of making up a little bit, I feel, for that as well. Like, let's get more of his backstory.
Plus, I think Hobbs is the best part of this movie.
Why? So more so than Roman? Because you already talked about like how this is peak Roman. You love Roman in this movie, but you like Hobbs more than Roman?
This watch through of this one, yeah, I like Hobbs in this movie much better. He has like the coolest action scene. You're building Hobbs and Shaw, and he knows it, so he's like really delivering Hobbs this one. Like, not that he's not great in all of them, because I think The Rock is a good actor. I think that in this one though, he knows it's coming. He's building the suspense for it really, really well.
Well, I think if we're ranking the Hobbs performances, I think sort of the one that I think the worst one is Fast Five, right? Because we don't really know who he is yet.
He hasn't gotten into his character yet.
He's just a cop.
I think in third place has got to be Furious 7, just because he's not in it a ton.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Number 2 would be Fast and Furious 6, because he's good in that, but he's not as good as he is in this movie. Like, number 1, Fate of the Furious, especially with the soccer stuff, with the like everything. It's the prison breakout, his stuff with Shaw.
Oh my
God. The fact we talked about before about him making that joke about like knocking his teeth so far down his stomach he's gonna cough up a toothbrush or whatever the stupid line is. The fact that they laugh about it in the movie, like, it's so dumb. But I just love that they're like sort of self-referential. Like, maybe our ribbing is going too far.
And you know what I thought of this time around too, which kind of softens the blow a little bit, is that Han was not friends with Hobbs. Like, he doesn't need to get any justice, you know what I'm saying? From Hobbs. Yeah, like Hobbs and Shaw can be friends. Like, that's okay. Like, it can't be Dom and Shaw. Then I'd have a real problem. Even though at the end of this movie they are going to shake hands and everything. He does save his son, so there's a little I
think it's more mutual respect right now. Like, we haven't, like, you're right, now that you're I'm thinking about it, like, this isn't, like, to the point where justice for Han, they shouldn't be hanging out with Shaw, and I get it.
Avenge the Fallen.
Yeah, Avenge the Fallen, for sure, but we haven't seen Dom and Shaw, like, really be boys yet, right?
Yes.
Like, they're not like friends, they're like, co-workers.
Hobbs and Shaw or Dom and Shaw? Who'd you say?
Dom and Shaw.
Dom
right?
and Shaw.
Like, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend type situation.
Right.
Like, we both hate Cypher, so, like, let's team up for now and see what happens.
I don't think they're friends really until the very end, until the barbecue, right?
I don't even think that they're friends there. It's like, hey, like, this is mutual respect, and now you saved my son.
Almost like a debt paid or something.
Well, you're right. They're not friends. They're family.
Oh. Maybe.
Love it.
Let me just see. There are a couple other things I want to talk about, and we can go to Mike's stuff. Some scenes that Elena is in, like, she is holding the worst fake baby since American Sniper. Like, it is a bad fake baby doll.
Is it that bad?
It's real bad. Watch it again.
It's really bad. Joey's talked about it before.
It's real. I mean, there's certain scenes where she's holding an actual baby, and there's an actual baby that Jason Statham is playing with, but, like, God, there are certain scenes that are just like, oh, that's not even close to a real baby.
I love the idea. First, I love the idea of Jason Statham and then, like, looking at the call sheet and saying, like, number 2, baby, and being like, oh, man, Hollywood. Like, this is what now I've made it. I'm acting with a baby. I also think the baby looks like it could be Vin Diesel's baby. Like, they did a good job of, like, finding his son.
It has, like, the weird, like, the doofy baldness and, like, the wide face. I agree with you.
Like, he gives, like, the almost same kind of look. I don't know how else to describe it, especially at the end when Vin Diesel looks down. He's like, what'd you say? Or something. He's like, what's that? Should we? Or something. And he's like, all right, I want to introduce my son. Like, I don't know. They look related.
I agree.
It's a good-looking baby, I can tell you that much. The only other two things I want to make note of, and then I can sort of close my note document until we get back to the trivia, is that number 1, I don't know if I've really paid much attention to the line where they get to the ice scene first, right? And Hobbs and Letty are together. And Hobbs is saying something about, like, if the time comes and they have my shot, I'm going to take Dom down. And Letty says back to him, like, you might have to put 2 people down. Like, I'm not, like, if you kill Dom, like, you die, I die. It's like, I'm serious about this. Like, you're not going to kill Dom unless you're ready to kill me too.
Well, how many times has Dom, like, not let Letty die? Right?
Yeah, a bunch.
Like, she definitely owes Dom a bunch, because, like, every single time Dom's, like, being like, no, we can't shoot Letty, we can't beat up Letty, we can't, like, hurt, like, we have to just bring her back. She's
he brought her back. Right, now she has to bring him back.
And then my other thing is that I don't know if I ever noticed this little action thing before, but when Dom is driving, like, he does the first EMP, then he has to go do the second EMP under the submarine, and he's driving through that, like, warehouse, and he's being pursued by the Russians or whatever who were there, and he like jumps his car off a ramp and like hooks his car onto a chain, and by doing that, the chain is attached to a beam, and the beam like collapses on the car behind him. I'm like, that's cool. Like it's like this crazy complicated thing. Exactly. Like overly complicated to take out a car behind you, but like really cool.
There's some cool action scenes, and there's some cool domino effect scenes, like you said too. Like it's a lot of like interplay, like this to this to this to this causes something cool to happen.
Those are all my new lap observations. Mike, what about you? What do you want to? Because we've already sort of, like we said, talked about this movie. We only talked about a very specific part of this, but what about Fate of the Furious do you want to talk about on this episode?
Okay, so this is kind of like a deeper cut thing that I noticed that I need to bring up, because I wonder if this screws with continuity, if Letty just has like the most amazing memory now that she's back to who she used to be. Okay, I don't know how amnesia works, and it doesn't matter when you're really writing a movie, I suppose. However, she recognizes Tormund, the dude, Game of Thrones dude with the big
perfect timing with
Redbeard
just returning now.
Yeah,
Redbeard.
What's his name in the? He has a name.
It's Tormund. Just call him Tormund.
Okay, so like she goes, wait a minute, that's the guy that hired us to go do that job that Letty supposedly gets killed in. When the job where everything goes wrong and Phoenix shoots the car. So this dude hired them for that job, and that job was connected to the younger Shaw brother. She's remembering shit after she got amnesia. So she has like two sets of memories. I'm trying to figure it out. Like she remembers everything as quote unquote not Letty, and then when she got her real memory back, she retained all those new memories, I'm sure. Yeah. But like it's just weird. I don't know. It just kind of
like a tiny minutia for you to like not remember Dom and the family and then get that back. But you're like, hey, I recognize that guy. He hired me to do a job once.
She's not living two lives while she has amnesia, right? She just like she not has two sets of memories there. It's just that like the rest of it's like
timeline
locked in a safe, and then it unlocks, and so she has everything. So it sort of makes sense, but it is also weird. I give you that.
Yeah, so that kind of just struck me, and it's so quick too. But it was like, wow, she remembered that when she had amnesia. It just sounds weird to say.
Just imagine it like me, like like sometimes I remember tons of minutia, but then also I drink a lot, so like I'll totally forget like giant chunks of a movie or something like that. It's kind of I imagine.
Speaking of that, don't you have a question you asked me before? You have a question for Mike about your drunk brain.
What was it?
It was about why does Hobbs get arrested and no one else gets arrested? Although or why does he go to prison but everybody else just gets handcuffed? Or are we to believe that like everybody goes to prison and that they just all get to different prisons?
Oh, I got an answer because I finally figured it out this time. I didn't realize it.
Good, go ahead.
Obviously, the guy with the horrible mustache who recruits him says, if you get caught, you're off the books, like you go to prison. And they're in Germany, and as they're driving away, he's like, I'll meet you at the safe house. And everyone busts and splits, and they go to the safe house, and he gets caught by Interpol. He actually gets caught by like actual cops and stuff.
Do we see that? No. Or is it like
we see him in a jumpsuit, and then like as he's brought to prison, Mr. Nobody is like, I got a deal for you and everything. And then those other guys, the rest of the team is only apprehended by the Nobody squad. So like they're not caught by actual cops, so they never go to like get processed and go to jail or do any time or anything. They just go straight to the black site.
What does he do that's wrong?
What does Hobbs do that's wrong? He steals the the EMP. He steals like a Class A level terrorist device. Like,
but who is he stealing it from?
Well, he's stealing it from like the government impound or whatever. Because like I think that the thing is that like they got word that someone bad, that Cypher's crew or whatever, is going to steal that, so they need to steal it first. But they're still
they need to pre-steal it.
Yes,
they're pre-stealing it.
It's not like they're picking it up and being like, oh hey, we're going to take this for safekeeping. It's like we have to steal it because we don't trust them to guard it, and it's going to get stolen by bad guys. But knowing what's going on...
In turn, they become bad guys.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it was always a little fuzzy, because I didn't really like the way they dole out that information, because usually it's done on its own, and this time I was distracted by like all the soccer stuff going on and everything. So I didn't quite catch that for a couple viewings, really. I was like, why does he get arrested and no one else gets arrested? Okay, I'm just rolling with it. As long as he gets to break out of prison in like a really amazing sequence, I'm good.
But that's what I said, wasn't it, Joe? That I said that he gets told you're going to get arrested if you get caught, and he just didn't run from the cops, so he got busted. So we're on the same page. I think that's a pretty solid explanation.
Yeah, you guys are together too, so I like it.
All right, Mike, what else you got?
I thought the zombie car thing was actually it's no, like I like it. I think it's cool, but it's like completely ridiculous. And then I saw like an article today about smart cars getting hacked and taken over, and then I remembered in the Christine episode.
Shout out High School Slumber Party. I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Walt Hickey mentioned something about smart cars getting hacked and like, you know, possibly like hitting people and stuff, and it's like real life Christine situations going on. So, you know, real life catching up to the movies here.
I have that note in my notes too. One of the things I don't like about this movie is the anti-driverless car propaganda that they're pitching in this. Like, this is something that, like, my father's scared of driverless cars, right? And he's scared of them because he thinks that, like, they're all just going to be hacked and, like, driven out of sight of buildings.
So he's scared of driverless cars the same reason my dad is scared of Dropbox?
Why is he scared of Dropbox?
It's because the cloud.
Essentially, yeah. And it's like, this movie is just propagating this thing can happen, not like, hey, driverless cars are cool. And I get that the whole movie is based off, like, people driving cars. Like, that's the whole franchise. But at the same time, like, hey, let's not, like, slam driverless cars yet.
Because also think about the possibilities of an action scene with driverless cars. That, like, you could be doing crazy shit inside and outside of windows and, like, doing all sorts of crazy shit if the car is driving itself. And then you do, like, I can do better than the computer, and, like, you take over. You know what I mean? Like, you could... There's potential to be had there.
How many times are you driving and you see somebody do something and you're like, damn, that guy's such an asshole. I wish he wasn't driving here. And you're like, oh, we could just get him a driverless car and then the car won't be an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be an asshole, like, to, like, just turn in front of you and, like, try to make a left from, like, the far right lane and shit like that. So, like, let's just not get caught up in the driverless car hacking thing right now.
I also feel like as funny as the sequence is, as fun as it is and everything to watch, and, like, it's literally, like, World War Z type zombie-style cars spilling over, like, a wave around the corner and stuff, and, like, it's great and everything. It seems like overkill. You know, like, they're just trying to get the football from the dignitary. Like, why? I feel like that it should have been a moment where Dom kicks ass on his own. Like, he just comes in
totally
after.
Could have worked.
Yeah, because he just comes in after all the cars crash into the one car that needs to be stopped. Well, they crash into a couple cop cars, they crash into the other thing. But I feel like Dom in his, like, fucking,
Charger.
like... But his also, like, that's the moment where he looks like a supervillain with, like, he looks like, who's the
mask.
guy? Yeah, he looks like Crossbones, right? Like from Civil War, like Captain America's enemy, where he's got, like, the crazy mask, like the big gear on, like that like buzzsaw freaking thing or whatever. Like, he looks like he could take on Iron Man or someone at that moment. And it's like...
He does look like the Winter Soldier a little bit, I get it.
Yeah, and it would have been amazing if he had that Winter Soldier sequence, like, just like that, where he's walking down the street taking out cars by himself and everything. Like, that's what came to mind this time, is like, you know, if they wanted to really show me how crazy evil Dom can get and, like, how impressive he is and why she picked Dom out of everybody, you know, why didn't she blackmail Hobbs or, you know, someone else or whatever, find some new guy? Like, show me that. Like, show me him, like, running down the street taking out an entire cavalcade or something. That would have been crazy.
Yeah, true.
I think the reason you don't blackmail Hobbs is because Hobbs is too moral to be blackmailed.
We see that too. Like, he'd rather take the fall than confess to a crime that he committed.
Yeah.
He committed that crime, and he knew full well that if he got caught, he was going to prison. And yet, still, he's like, "I didn't do it."
Which version did you watch? The 2-hour, 15-minute theatrical, or like the 2:28 or whatever extended?
I just watched the theatrical this time because that's the only. I think that's the only cut on the 4K.
So the 4K, I've complained about this before. The 4K disc is the theatrical. The digital copy that comes with it is the extended cut.
That's right. Yeah, you have mentioned that before.
That's dumb. That's dumb. That is a dumb decision.
No, I don't know. There's something there's something going on with Ultra HD where there must not be enough space on the disc yet, because there's a lot that don't come with special features either. That those are all on the Blu-rays that come with them. So I wonder if it's a size thing, if it's a space problem or whatever, but
maybe
the movie looked great. It pops. Like, that whole Cuban scene is nice and bright. Like, throughout the whole movie, I think F. Gary Gregg, right? Or
yep.
You know, I think he's got a really good eye. Like, this feels like the rest of them, but yeah, I mean, that's it. It feels like the rest of them. Like, you know, they all have feel a little different, but this fits. It fits the style. Like, you know, you could look at it and be like, oh yeah, it feels like the rest of them.
So I have a very, something that makes me disappointed in where this wound up, because I want to see, so there is a bit of trivia on here. I'm trying to figure out who these other two guys are. Of people who were considered to direct this movie, F. Gary Gray obviously won. So the guy who did the cinematography in the first film, this guy Erickson Core, was considered. Two other names that I don't know. I'm saving the one for last. It's not a huge name, but it's somebody who I I think Mike also loves, but I love. So one guy is this guy Louis Leterrier, who directed the Transporter with Jason Statham, Transporter 2.
Oh, cool.
The Incredible Hulk, the Edward Norton one, the one that's in the MCU. Clash of the Titans, Now You See Me, the Brothers Grimsby. So he's sort of got a hit or miss kind of thing. Right now he's been directing TV. He did 9 episodes of a show called Tycoon, which I don't know. And then 10 episodes of a show, The Dark Crystal, which is a Netflix series, I guess, adaptation of that movie, the Jim Henson movie. So that's one guy who was considered. Another guy who was considered was William Eubank, who is a cinematographer and a bunch of things. He directed that movie, The Signal. I want to say it's a Lawrence Fishburne sci-fi movie, but he's not the star.
Right. Okay, with the 3 kids. The 3 kids go out to the desert or something. They wake up in a hospital.
Yes, the isolated area. Yeah, so that's Olivia Cook's. I got to rewatch that movie. But yes, it's a weird sci-fi movie. So anyway, cool sci-fi movie. The guy who directed that was also considered this. But the one that I am most bummed about, and I don't know what this would have been like, and I also feel like it's not his kind of movie at all. Adam Wingard was considered.
I don't know who that is.
He did You're Next. He did The Guest. He did a new Blair Witch movie. He's like this really cool kind of indie horror movie guy that Simon Barrett writes a lot of his movies. I don't see this as his kind of movie, although he did do Death Note, I think, the same year that this came out. So I guess he was trying to get into the bigger budget, bigger franchise movies, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like one of those situations where, I mean, I mostly hear about it with Marvel, where they find someone who did 1 or 2 small indie movies and then give them an action movie to direct or something, right? So I feel like he would have done pretty well because he would have been a good director first and foremost, and then all the action stuff could have just I'm sure a lot of this stuff is pre-sequenced anyway, and they don't have that much say really. You know what I'm saying?
It's probably Marvel, right? In that way, where it's you can bring a little bit of flair, but you're going to make our movie, the movie that we want you to make.
Yeah. So I mean, I could have seen that. It would have been interesting.
But he's definitely I don't think he fits the vibe of those other kind of movie makers. But I would love for him to be like this, making really cool things that I love. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
He would do really well making a Hulk movie, because you could do sort of a horror thing, a character study kind of thing, and so much has gone on with the Hulk since his own movie that you could really bring him back to basics.
Well, so speaking of Hulk, I think that there's a scene in here where it's in the prison breakout where The Rock kind of hulks out. He does this whole
he does.
And they shoot him with the rubber bullets, and he just looks at him, and he's just oh.
It's fully the Hulk right there. I agree.
Yeah, he's gonna be so good when he finally gets into a DC or Marvel movie.
Well, he's gonna be Black Adam in Shazam too.
Yeah. I mean that's gonna be crazy, because that's been in the works for so long. So that's gonna be insane.
Now there's all these stories about how Shazam 2 doesn't need him anymore, because he was going to want there to be that, franchise Viagra that he's been known as, that, bring him into the second one, going to boost up the franchise. And people love the first one so much that, we kind of don't need him. But also, at the same time, get him in there.
Yeah, exactly. Get him in there.
What else you got, Mike?
I got one. Did you notice this movie, when it first starts out? I'm talking, the beginning. I'm, watching it super intently. And they have, a tiny clip that extends for a little bit too long of somebody getting a haircut. And I was just are haircuts inherently Cuban? And, why, if you're showing me, Cuba, beautiful women, the island, and then it cuts to some guy getting his haircut? And I was this seems like stock footage that they just, threw in here. Something you'd use in, your senior project.
I can see it as this movie is all about, or this franchise is all about, not necessarily style over substance, but style. You know what I mean? And what better way to have your own personal style than to get a haircut?
But it's none of the it's like some guy just giving a haircut. Can you imagine if you get scripted for that? It's oh yeah, we need somebody to give a haircut, and then that winds up in the movie, and you're I was a fucking hairdresser.
I wonder if they were, you never know if they were giving haircuts at race wars, somewhere in a tent somewhere.
No, it was in a barber shop.
It's in Cuba, right? That could just be, we want to show as much of Cuba as we can, of Cuban culture, and look.
Yeah. But haircuts, are haircuts Cuban culture?
Well, I think it's just them going around and just getting the lay of the land.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're fixing on cars over here, they're getting haircuts over there, they're doing this down the street.
They're just a normal people, man.
Lots of coverage.
The other thing to keep in mind is that I don't know how much of this was actually shot in Cuba. There's something on IMDb about how there's the only stuff that was actually shot in New York is the B team, the second unit stuff. That all the action stuff, all the car, all the stuff that the people that we know, like the family is in, was not shot in New York.
That would make sense, yeah.
I don't know how much of this was actually shot in Cuba. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we only just recently, in the last couple of years, were able to go back down to Cuba, as we're recording this, as you listen to this, maybe
I think
2
they were
weekends
shooting
ago.
a big-ass movie like this that you could have gone to Cuba.
No, like, it was
Really?
there was an embargo. Like,
Yeah.
you could not go to Cuba until, like, a year or two ago.
No, I knew a girl that did it. You just go through, like, Mexico or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, but you're not going to
possible,
do that
but
as a
it's
Hollywood
not,
movie.
you can't
Why
take
not?
a flight from America. But I think the idea was they knew that, passage to Cuba was reopening, and so, like, they wanted to get ahead of that, right? They wanted to already be in Cuba when you were just allowed to go there. And so the idea that Dominic Toretto just has family, it's got a cousin down there, right? So, like, he's been back and forth and all this. Like, I think it's just more to show, like, he's a man of the world, right? Like, he can
Citizen
go
of the
anywhere.
world. But
There
like,
you
I think
go.
the same thing, like, what I was saying is that, like, as we're recording this past weekend, Guava Island came out, which is the Donald Glover thing. But, like, I think
Yes.
people
so
are
good.
just doing this because they weren't able to do it before. Like, well, let's go to Havana because we weren't able to go there before. Like, let me go make a movie with Rihanna down there because we couldn't do it before. They're telling a story about Cuba in a way, but I think it's just like, we can do this now. But also at the same time, they probably went down there, but maybe, there's a chance that Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez and F. Gary Gray were never in Cuba. I think they probably were, because that feels more authentic than the stuff in New York. At the same time, it might not be. It might just be like a backlot or some
Puerto
kind of
Rico
like
or something.
Mexico or like really southern LA or southern
Yeah.
California or something,
Yeah,
True.
it's insane what they can do these days with like green screens and stuff. But the one thing I did like, the reason, I mean, I think one main reason they were in Cuba is because there is just like a crazy car culture there. Like, it's so
Yes.
unique because they show in the
They were
movie,
embargoed.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
they just couldn't get new cars, so like everything is stitched together, and they're all like these classic Frankensteins and everything.
And the weather's pretty nice, so the car's held up a while.
Yeah, well, and they actually drove them and tuned them up and took care of them and everything, and you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to keep them working and in running condition. So I don't know. I just think they maybe wanted to touch upon that as well.
Yeah, I think it was more of a visit for the car culture, even more so than like we can go here now. I think both played a role. I agree.
Sure.
I mean, I know we touched upon this before, and there might be too much of him, but I really do like Roman in this movie. There's two specific.
No, I love him.
There's two
Go ahead.
really specific moments though where I just die every time it gets me. It's the one after Little Nobody says something, and he like looks over, and Mr. Nobody and The Rock kind of give like an approval thing, and then Roman just comes up and he's like, "You're an asshole, and nobody likes you." Over. Like, he says like something like that. Like, I don't know why that cracks me up, because it's like pretty mean or whatever, but like I just died laughing. And then the other thing is like really insensitive, but like it's so Roman, is when they're in the sub. He's like, man, he's like, what does it say? And he's like, I don't know. I can't read Russian. I don't know. And he's trying to read Russian. I don't want to say he's like an idiot, but like he's
an idiot.
so
No, he's
childlike.
He's a
Like,
joker.
he's an
He's a
idiot.
joker.
He is kind of an idiot. He's just very childlike. Everyone else takes everything super seriously. And again, he's always sort of bewildered and like can't handle how intense everything gets. Like, like almost like a real person would in that situation, as opposed to like these superheroes always playing it super cool.
I think the series has done a good job of getting him to that point where there's the scene where he's like, "Oh, I know exactly what to do. We got to use God's Eye," and no one else in the scene lets on that. We've
Yeah.
already, like, of course they tried God's Eye. That's the first thing you would do. Like, of course you would. Like, oh, we need to find this person. Oh, we just so happen to have a piece of technology that lets us find any person. Like, let's use God's Eye. But Roman, being this like cocky guy, is just like, oh, I got an idea. Let's use God's Eye. And everybody's like, Roman, that's a great idea. That he is such a low key part of like a butt of the joke. And then he finally, like, when it doesn't work, they're like, oh, yeah, of course we tried that. Like, who do you think we are? Like, I'm Mr. Nobody. Like, of course I tried that. But I like that, and then that sort of kicks off the whole like Tej and Ramsey doing their hacker thing. But I just like
Yeah.
that he's able to like feel like he's contributing and actually contribute, like at the end, when he kills all those guys on the snowmobiles. But like he also just can be this arrogant guy who thinks he has the solution when it's of course like they've already tried that.
By the way, I think I'm in the Tej Ramsey camp. I think they should be together, just because of like the text.
I
like,
agree.
I mean, they work so well together in this movie when they're like bouncing all that babble off of each other and stuff and everything. And it's like, I'm sorry, Roman, but like, there's plenty of fish out there in the sea. This one, she just feels, I don't know, Tej and Ramsey I mean, even though Ramsey is like, what's my last name? Like, that's so great. Like, no, like, she totally like got them with their pants down with that. But I think with a little time, I'm in the Tej Ramsey camp more.
Well, shout out Miss Sandy from Game of Thrones. She is back now. I do want to say one thing that was cut out of the theatrical cut that's in the extended cut, and I don't know if you remember, Mike, from past viewings, is that there's the scene where Jason Statham, where Shaw is talking to Ramsey. We don't hear what they're talking about, but Tej and Roman are talking about the accent and about how, like...
Oh, this scene was cut out?
Yeah, it was cut out
This
of
is an
the
extended
theatrical.
scene? I really like that scene. Do you know this scene, Mike?
I can't remember it, no.
Shaw is talking to Ramsey, and Roman's like,
They're doing computer things together.
Yeah, I don't understand why he can get her, because, like, obviously, I'm the Dark Knight. Why does he go with her, or why should he go with him? And he says, must be the accent. And Tej says, bruh, he ain't got no accent to her. They from the same place.
That is a good line. Yeah, they have the accent.
And it gets better.
Oh, no, sorry. It's the other way. It's the other way around.
Yeah, Tej goes, it must be the accent.
And then Roman says, bruh, he ain't got no accent to her. They from the same place. And Tej goes, I know I was joking. And then Roman says, I got the accent. I'm exotic Barstow. And Tej says exotic, and Roman says Barstow's exotic to her. Mm-hmm. It's cut from
he
the
said ghetto. Version. Yeah, he goes Barstow, and he goes ghetto.
I love that shout out to Too Fast. That's where we find him, crashing cars in Barstow.
I'm not of the Tej and Ramsey. I'm not of the Roman and Ramsey. I'm of the Shaw and Ramsey camp.
No. No.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
I want.
not about it.
I think that they have both. It's not like they've been friend zoned, because I think they are very like that's also not a real thing, but it's also like they've just been around and they've done nothing to like prove their merit to her, really. They don't know who she is. They just keep hitting on her. Like, there's no reason for her to go after them. He saves her life when Cypher and Dom show up. He jumps on her to protect her from the falling debris.
That's right.
So I think it's Shaw and Ramsey, baby. That's my shipping. That's the fanfic I want.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Crazy. I don't know.
Shaw's dating Ellie Toretto. You know this.
That's true.
Although I do want to touch upon the Shaw brothers.
Hold on, before we get there, 1 second. Okay. I want to put a bow on Roman, because there's a Roman thing, a conversation we had last time that we sort of have an epilogue here. Last episode we talked about how he has a joke about wanting to check his email, right?
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this movie, Letty is talking to Ramsey, and Letty walks off in a huff and sort of like shoulder bumps Ramsey on her way out. Mm-hmm. And Roman says to Ramsey, "You're just going to let her bump your shoulder like that?" I'm just saying that was a little aggressive, because like Ramsey's not doing anything. And he says to Ramsey, "What are you going to do? Email her?" And I don't know why they keep giving Roman lines about email, but it keeps happening.
I'm telling you, dude, they're just trying to show you his tech level. Like, that's all he knows about computers.
Because that makes more sense. Like, I don't know what you're doing on the computer. I guess it's all email. Like, you're going to send her an email. But, like, I still don't know why I don't know. But
they're trying to sell this email thing so hard.
I love that, we had that long conversation last episode about, like, why is he, like, what could he want to do? Why does that so feel outdated? And here, it's email again.
Yeah,
that's like his go-to joke about computers, is just like, I tell you, because he's never going to be like, what are you going to Linux that shit or something? Or, you know.
You're going to SSH into there?
Right. HTTP me or something. No, like, email is funny, too. Like, to me, that's a funny word. It's always been pretty funny. So, like, to drop it as, like, a punchline or something, or just, like, a character thing, like, Roman only knows that much about computers, and he's talking to, like, this world-class hacker, and she's like, email? Like, come on, bro. Like, that's day one.
There's a clip. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but it's like from, I think, the early 90s maybe, and it's like on Today Show or something, and it's Matt Lauer and a couple other people, and it's the first time that they've ever talked about internet on TV, and they don't know what the @ symbol is, and so they're just like, it's like Mike A cageclub.me, and they're like, I don't know, like, it's an A with a circle, what is that? And like, there's producers shouting from off set, like, it's an @ it means @ they're like, I don't know, but it's like, that's the Roman level of tech, like, the public consumption in like the early 90s, 25 years later, that's where Roman's living.
Yeah.
So good.
All right, Mike, your Shaw Brothers thing, what do you want to talk about the Shaw Brothers?
It's crazy how just indestructible everybody in this franchise is, right? But like, we actually get to see that the younger, I always get them confused.
Deckard is Jason Statham.
We get to actually see that, like, getting kicked out of an airplane and spending that time in the hospital, like, he's basically fine. Like, he's totally cool. He's just got like a little Freddy Krueger face going on, but he's still like super handsome, right? Like chicks dig the scars, especially with that accent. And like other than that, like he's like the Rocketeer with his brother. Like they are using those jetpacks and kicking ass, and like he's fully healed. It's insane. I love that though. Like because I did not expect him to show up in this movie whatsoever, and he shows up and he's like a completely different character. He's like, I'm good now. I'm the little brother. Like I'll do whatever. Like
he's like the mama's boy too.
So there's a thing. So that when we last see him in Fast and Furious 6, he's getting seen thrown from the cargo hold of a plane. In this movie, he returns via a cargo hold in the plane. So it's like, as he left, he comes back.
That's true. That's poetic. I like that. That's having the same writer for a couple movies in the row, right? Like
Chris Morgan.
Gotta come from part of that. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. Yeah.
And as we know from that Onion clip, he's a 5-year-old boy. He likes Cars Go Boom.
Oh, yeah. Cars Go Boom.
That's funny. I think that's it, guys. Like, I got more notes and stuff, but, like, why bother? Like, I mean...
So here's some trivia. So maybe this will spark some more conversation from you, Mike. So we talked a lot about at the end about how when Dom first meets his baby, Elena's like, his middle name is Marcos, but I think the father should name the baby, which, I don't know, name the baby. Like, the baby's not a newborn. Like, you've been with the baby for a while. You're the mom.
Marcos is a cool name.
I was curious how you, like, don't name a baby. Like, how do you, like, be like, no name baby?
No, yeah, you could wait, I think, a while until you have to name a baby, at least.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. There's some movie where, like, that was part of the joke, is, like, the baby doesn't have a name yet.
Oh,
I don't know.
I think you have to, like, get the birth certificate, dude. Like...
Yeah, but you can put, like, anything on. They could put, like, Jane Doe, I think, or something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
You just play one on TV. So at the end of the movie, Jason Statham, when Deckard brings baby no-name Marcos to the party, to the rooftop grill, Dom introduces the baby to Letty, and then everyone meet Brian, and we're like, oh God, all right. Like it could have been Paul, like it could have been anything, yeah. So Chris Morgan, we just talked about, the writer, said that having Dom name his son Brian just felt like the right thing to do. Not only was it a way to honor Paul, but also as a way to honor the character of Brian for everything he and Dom have been through throughout the saga, and pay tribute to how much Brian changed Dom's life. And this is also kind of cool, which I did not know. It also imitates Diesel's real-life homage to Walker, who named his daughter Pauline after the late actor in March 2015, which I love.
Okay.
Which I'm getting chills right now thinking about, just like that he loved this guy so much that he named his daughter in real life after his dead friend.
It sits much better knowing all that now, because I remember being in the theater going like,
it's a cop-out.
He's going to say Paul, he's going to say Paul, he's going to say Paul, and he says Brian, and I was like, well, okay, like that still works, but like I just was expecting them to go more meta, I suppose, but like
more
it's
emotional.
Still cool. Like it's definitely warranted. Like, and plus it's not the first time part of the crew has named someone after. If you remember, that one guy from Fast 5 named his son Nico after Dominic. So like
true, very true.
There's a little of that repeat and stuff, so I don't know. Yeah.
When this movie came out 2 years ago, it released on more than 1,000 IMAX screens, which is the widest opening ever for a single film in IMAX.
Still? Wow. Or to that point?
To that point. I don't know, because I mean, like, there are big IMAX movies, but I feel like, I mean, maybe Dunkirk, possibly more, but like, I'm trying to think what's come out since then, because like...
Endgame,
but I don't think Endgame's really on that many IMAX screens. Like, I feel like it has to be sort of, Endgame maybe, but it has to be kind of a movie that, like, has a global appeal, which the Marvel movies do, that they don't have to only play in English. Car action movies are exactly the kind of thing that plays well across the world. So
that and like superhero movies.
Yeah. The last bit of trivia, and this is another little sort of sad one. When Mr. Nobody explains the top 10 most wanted list, and Roman's number 11, he says the people in the room are 6, 8, 9, and 10. Number 7, of course, would be Paul Walker.
Would be Brian. That is a great. I love Kurt Russell in that moment when he's just like, "Oh well, not you, Roman. Sorry." And then Roman's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Well, you're number 11." Like, that is pure Kurt Russell. Like, he just seems so relaxed and chill and into that, in there, and like having fun. I just always loved him, and he's so good in this one too. Like, he just feels even better in this one. I was so glad to see him again.
And that's all the trivia I got. I was telling Joe before we started recording that this is kind of the worst trivia from any of the Fast and Furious. I think because it's newer, and maybe there's not a lot out there, but a lot of it's just like, this is like what Brian did in the first movie. This is like what Brian did in the second. It's just like, like, of course, it's all references to things and stuff like that. It's not...
Is there anything about the reality of like Cypher's jet and then like her course, right? Because that's how they track her. She some kind of jet stream or whatever. She's avoiding the satellites,
flying between those, and like the I don't know. It sounds real enough that I'm sure it's real, but
who knows?
Okay. I kind of like her Air Force One thing going on, but I don't know. I wish she spent more time on the ground. She only recruits Dom, and then she breaks into nowhere with him, and like that's the only time. And then she jumps out of that airplane before the Shaws can get her.
There's only one parachute.
What a weird final line, like in your movie. It's like it's weird, like how she just kind of like bows out. She doesn't. It doesn't feel like she gets like a proper send off or anything.
Like we talked about in Watch the Throne, like she can't be done. Like if that's the end of her in this franchise, it makes me even more mad. You know what I mean? Like I don't like her role in this, but I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt if there's like something grander at play here, especially as Mike specifically has been talking about this whole lap, that like the tech builds and the villains build and they're all connected and everything like that. Like for her just to
that would be really
duck
cool.
out,
yeah.
It's just that's not what.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Her fate, as it were, will be revealed eventually.
I like to make my own fate. Joe, do you have any notes about Fate of the Furious before we talk about it in a couple months?
No, let me think. One qualm I had with this movie, Dom says, the car doesn't matter. It's the guy behind the wheel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Like, that's only true to a point, man. Like, like there's a limit to that. Like, he can say that, and he's Dom Toretto, but, like, a large part of it is the car if you're racing, like, two completely different... Like, I get maybe, like, IndyCar... where, like, all the cars are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
The drivers have high skill levels. But, like, if you're racing, like, this hoopty versus, like, the nicest car or fastest car on the island, like, the fastest car on the island is going to win.
Well, it doesn't this time. The only reason... I don't want to take credit away from a fictional character, but the only reason Dom wins is because his engine explodes near the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, he's about to lose, and then the engine literally explodes, rendering the car useless. It just so happens that it propels him across the finish line quicker.
You don't think he still would have won if he was driving like a Volvo or something like that? Like he still could have beat that guy?
No, that's what I'm saying.
The Buster's trick?
Yeah, if he had like a Fiat, I don't think he would have won. Even if he pulled a soda can off the engine and, sprayed it with laughing gas, I don't think he would have won.
So before we get to our games that we play every episode, let us do this new game that Joe found. I have the post here, but if you want to explain what it is, then I'll read the actual post and we can go into it. So why don't you explain what this game is? It's
just a quick game. I really wanted to hear your and Mike's take on it. To be honest, I really don't have that much input, but I just want to hear you guys talk about it because you guys fascinate me and you watch way more movies than I have. So I saw my friend post last night. Can I just say it? I don't have the post, but like I could just tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah.
If you had to show someone 7 movies from franchise
for a marathon all-nighter, so like this is like an overnight thing.
So it's like High School Slumber Party. Shout out Brian. In real life, you had to pick 7 movies from a franchise, but they all had to be different franchises. What 7 movies would you pick?
Okay, so is this like number 1 from this franchise, number 2 from that's how I did it.
It's okay. No, that's a really cool take on it too.
You picked the first installment, a second installment, a third installment, a fourth installment.
I tried to.
Why don't you do yours? Because I did a whole scheduling thing. Because on a lot of the Cage Club visits, you and I, Mike, have tried to figure out how to program different things. So why don't you do yours, and I'll sort of give the thought process behind mine, because mine's less easy, I think, to understand than what you did. So why don't you go through what you did?
Okay.
So the rules are that it has to be all have to be franchise films, which...
So we talked about this behind the scenes a little bit, and Joey said, like, that means there has to be at least 3, right? And I think that 3 kind of makes it a franchise.
Right, because number 1, that qualifies it for Mike's podcast, Third Time's a Charm. But number 2, like, 2 movies, like, is Kill Bill a franchise? Is Paddington a franchise? Like...
No.
Paddington might be more so, but it's also, I would say, more so because, like, we're probably going to get a third. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to get necessarily a third. I guess we could get a third Kill Bill.
No, Kill Bill is not a franchise.
Right.
I'm more curious to pick which franchises you guys pick, and then which movies from the franchises you guys pick. Because I know that there's, like, a lot of them that you love. So, like, I'm curious what your top 7 would be.
So, I didn't do it like that, and we'll get to that. But, so your friend who posted this, he posted his 7. I don't know if you saw this, but his 7 were Skyfall, the original Lethal Weapon, Predator, the original Die Hard, Jaws, Aliens, and Star Wars The Force Awakens, which I feel like are all good movies, but it's like, if you're not a bro who loves action, you're going to be bored as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but you could take it whatever way you want.
If I did my favorite movies, like for my favorite franchises or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be a different result than what I have.
Yeah, okay. I would pick something, yeah, you're right. I would pick something that would be like, these would be good movies for like everyone. This would be like a fun time sleepover movie playlist.
And I have my reasoning for what I did, but Mike, why don't you go first? What are your 7?
Like I said, I did, number 1 from this, number 2 from that. So number 1, I went with Back to the Future.
Okay.
For number 1.
Oh, cool. Good choice, yeah.
Godfather Part 2.
Yep.
Cool.
Superman 3.
Of course, shout out Third Time's a Charm, the pilot episode with me.
Leprechaun 4, Leprechaun in Space.
Okay.
Oh.
Number 5, gonna go with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Okay.
Throw some Godzilla in there.
Okay.
Number 6, this is a tough one, but I think I'm gonna go with Jason Lives, Friday the 13th.
And that's where, when I get to it, like, I wish that I had more familiarity with, like, Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff, like those franchises, because, like, you can get some real weird shit, like, way deep into these franchises.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why number 7 was the hardest, because there's only so many franchises that go up
With
that
7.
far without like rebooting. But
Yeah.
I think I just have to throw one of these in there anyway, and we'll end on Diamonds Are Forever, which is the 7th James Bond movie.
I was gonna say somebody did James Bond. I was hoping
Gotta
one of you
throw
guys picked
one of
James
those in
Bond.
there, and that's the one when Connery like came back. So they did Her Majesty's The Secret Service
With George Lazenby?
which is a good one with Lazenby, and then was like, all right, get Connery back in there for a while.
Cool.
That's a really good list, Mike. You picked a lot of franchises that I like.
And your friend Joe picked Skyfall, so they both had Bond. I thought about Bond, but I also don't. I've only seen like 4 Bond movies, and 3 of those are the Daniel Craig. No, I guess how many's Daniel Craig done? 4, or has he done 3?
4 now.
So I've seen 5, and 4 of those are his. So
Damn, I miss the old ones a lot. I would put Never Say Never Again on mine because that's my favorite Bond movie.
So here's what I did. So I had a little thing. So I figured, and this is me way overthinking things, but I also wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. But I figured if you're starting a marathon, I figure start at 8 o'clock, and I just broke the night into 2-hour blocks, right?
Fair.
Nice.
Yeah, that
so
works.
8 o'clock, start off with a lot of energy. Start off with the Fast and the Furious.
Cool.
First one.
Start right out of the gate. First one, because I think you could do Fast 5 or something, but I feel like for a crowd, most of them probably haven't seen more than 1 or 2 of these movies. You show something that people have seen.
1 is the most accessible.
Yes.
It's either you love it because you've seen it a million times, or you haven't seen it and it's classic.
Yep.
So yeah.
So start off a little bit of action, especially for the podcast. Fast and Furious. Number 2, the 10 o'clock is a wild card because people are still stoked on the first one, but I feel like number 2, you don't know, it could go anywhere because you're I don't know what this night's gonna hold. High School Musical 2.
Wow. You really don't know where to go.
And people are
with
what
rest
the
of this
fuck?
night
And then
now.
they're wow, bet on it? Absolutely.
Yes.
So that's 10
Sold.
o'clock, High School Musical 2.
Okay. Threw a Zeph one in for me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Midnight, I want a weird midnight movie. I originally had Sleepaway Camp there. I took Sleepaway Camp out. I love Sleepaway Camp.
I knew you were going to put Sleepaway Camp in it. I really
What
thought
I
you were going to
did instead is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Because that's the gay one, right?
No, that's part 2.
Part 2 is the gay
Part
one?
3, yeah, 3 is in the psych ward with Lawrence Fishburne.
I know that 2 and 3 are both very good, so I'd be happy with either one of those. But Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors at midnight.
Okay.
2 a.m. After that, I feel like people, because you're watching 3 movies in a row, especially somebody like you, you're going to start to get sleepy. The 2 a.m. slot, I just have something to sleep to. I did Transformers 2. Because there's such mindless action there that it's loud enough that if you want to stay up, you can keep up. It's not a good movie. The first one is better, but I tried not to do too many first movies in a franchise because I felt like that's
I get it.
not super exciting.
Yeah.
And then after that, at 4 a.m., something to pick the energy up, I did Mad Max Fury Road.
Nice.
I was waiting for one of you guys to add a Mad Max in there.
Incomprehensible action to the most well choreographed action that you've ever seen. Then 6 a.m., this is the next to last one, the penultimate pick. I did a hidden gem here. That's where I stuck Sleepaway Camp because it's I don't know what's going on. I originally had here Ocean's 12 because I think especially
Great movie too.
Given that you're watching all these movies with a franchise. Ocean's 12, we talked about this on Cinemakers with Tobin, it's a really weird, smart movie that is about making a sequel, and I think it could play well. But then when I moved Sleepaway Camp out of that midnight slot, I kind of want to show Sleepaway Camp because I love that movie, and I want to watch that movie again with a crowd of people. And with the classic, the same one that Mike started his with, Back to the Future. I think just like you have to have like you have to go out with a bang. And I was thinking either like like something like Raiders or Jaws or Back to the Future or something that everybody's known, but like that goes out and be like, oh, that was awesome. Like I want to just see that with the crowd. So that was my thinking about all that.
Okay, so my only two things that I thought you guys would have edited, or I would have entered, because my list would have been like a nice amalgamation, very similar to yours, is I can't believe neither of you picked a Rocky movie.
I thought about
it. I'm kind of done with the Rockies for a little while, ever since that marathon.
Yeah, Mike and I watched 7 Rocky movies in a row a couple years ago, so it was a lot.
How did neither of you guys pick The Matrix?
Yeah, I could see that maybe. Well, mine going in order, it would have had to have been first probably, and I really wanted to throw something. But
Joey loves The Matrix. That's why I was curious about it.
I was scared off from doing too many first movies because I felt like it's kind of sure they're from franchise, but like the reason that franchise exists is because people love the first one. You know what I mean? So the first, like I wanted to put Die Hard on here, but I'm like, Die Hard is obvious, like it's a stone cold classic.
Yeah, it's hard once you get past the first one to be like, do I really want to like put it in a marathon with like amazing, you could pick so much stuff.
Because on my list, I have in the series just the numbers 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 1, 1, and like I felt like with 3 ones already, it felt...
Yeah, because if you're doing just beginnings, you're not really even, like, looking at a franchise. You need to get, like, into the wacky shit, so...
That's the thing, because, like, if you do that, like, the first one, in almost every case, is going to be the best one, right? Like, except maybe Godfather or whatever, but, like, there's a reason that franchises exist is because the first one is so good that people want more of it.
Yeah, it's hard to get to 7, I think, like, 5 is way more realistic. Like, you could start throwing in Harry Potters and stuff, and, like, there's a lot that could... I mean, that went to 7 or 8 movies, but I'm just saying, even Hunger Games, they made 4 movies out of 3 books and stuff. So, like, I feel like 5 is more of a reasonable, like, if you're going to program a night or something like that, which I'd love
Harry
to
Potter's
do.
This is a good ad, too.
It's just kind of a fun exercise.
Wasn't it? Okay, cool. I'm glad I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really just wanted to hear what franchises you guys would think about, what are in the forefronts, and what, like, hidden gems you would... throw in there.
Because you could really, like, I could at least spend, like, a lot more time thinking about the perfect lineup, because, like, what franchise follows which best, like Joey said, by putting,
the
like...
lineup, the scheduling would drive me nuts.
Yeah,
should we put Fast and the Furious first, or, like, where should it go, and,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put, like, a comedy after The Godfather, you go to Superman 3, it's like, what? It's, and, like, Joey said, like, you put a terrible action movie or something like Transformers 2, and then you put, like, one of the greatest, maybe the best movie ever made after that with like Fury Road, and it's thematic and stuff, so it'd be a lot of fun to keep programming this.
One day, boys, when we buy a movie theater, we'll make sure that nobody ever shows up and we just show movies like this.
So actually, I want to put this out into the world. If you have your own idea for what you would program, email family@cageclub.me.
What are your 7 favorite franchises? What 7 movies you'd put in it? I'm just curious. It was just like a thought exercise that my friend posted, and I obviously had to come to these two guys that watch a lot of movies to get their
perspectives. Which Turtles movie would you put in there? Gotta be Secret of the Ooze, I would imagine. But
Secret of the Ooze, yeah. The ninja one, the samurai one is just too bad, the third one.
But
Can't do that.
Ernie Reyes Appreciation Month on our film club, so at some point we'll do Secret of the Ooze with Ernie Reyes Jr., but cool game. I like that, Joe.
Thank you.
Next game, this ain't no 10-second race, a.k.a. boy, do we have a podcast.
Are we already there? We're already at that game? Holy shit.
We don't have that many games in this podcast. So since we last recorded,
we've been recording the other things, so my brain's messed up.
If you're listening now, our episode of Boyfriend Material about Drive is out. I think that was a cool, fun conversation. But yeah, so we don't have that many games in here. Now, this ain't no 10-second race. Okay, so last episode, I found on Twitter, Joanna enjoyed hashtag SWCC, you, Hobbs and Shaw, me, Blumhouse Dark Universe, hashtag CinemaCon, and it's someone who kind of looks like Amanda Seyfried, might be Amanda Seyfried. On Wednesdays, we wear pastel goth. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nope. I knew, though, that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Joe, you found at Take Mikaguchi, Tomas Ford, No Knees Queen. That's all that we said. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing.
Damn.
Mike, you found at Buy18eShop, Buy18 on Twitter, $31.68 bit.ly link, classical Fast and Furious 7 cross pendant necklace in 925 sterling silver with small and big size for lover, women, and man. Hot sale. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. So now, Mike, you are in second place in the show.
Crazy.
You're above me. This is the last time for a while you have a chance to add to your lead. You'll have to listen next episode on our relap recap. Although, do we do that, or I don't remember if we play that on that. We might have to wait till the Fast and Furious. Do we play the Twitter game on the relap recap?
I don't remember.
You might have to wait for the Fast and Furious a couple episodes from now. But, Mike, Joe, do you have a tweet that you want to...
I do.
Send it.
I'm putting mine in the chat right now. I put it... Did you see it? Did it pop up?
Whoa, what a name, too.
I know. Mine is from Charlize at Charlie, CHARLY zebra _15. And she just says, I want to have a Fast and the Furious marathon. Smiley face.
Winking face emoji.
Winking face emoji. So if she actually did, and she wasn't trying to Netflix and chill, boy, do we have a podcast for her.
All right.
All right.
Mike, what you got?
Here's mine. Mine's from Eugene, and he's got like a monkey emoji next to his name.
Okay. With a pound symbol to start it.
At Leago Eugene.
Okay.
The fate of the Furious still does it for me. Is that like a painful face and then a heart?
Yeah.
Can watch it over and over and still won't get tired of it.
Boy,
well, do we have a podcast for you? He's way ahead of us. He can watch it over and over and never get tired of it. We might need to talk to him.
So there it is for now, my final entry into the game. I played it. I mean, I tried to play this game, like play it
hard,
safe,
dude.
Play it hard, like go.
Dude, it's hard. I have no idea how. We don't know how to win. We have no idea how to win. You can like get in the middle of a conversation. Like sometimes I pick random ass tweets. They work great. Sometimes I pick like tweets that people are like seem serious about. They just ignore it or block us. People get arrested, thrown off Twitter. It happens all the time. I don't know.
Joe, I don't want to. I don't know whether to do this or not, but I gotta say, Charlie already liked your reply.
Whoa.
Charlize,
Charlie, 1 point so far. I'm not gonna give you the point now. You'll get that next.
Yeah,
so
we save it till the next episode.
If she blocks us between now and then, you don't get that point. But
or if she gets thrown off Twitter for some reason.
Do you do like minus a point if you get?
No, because we don't add the points until it has to last till the next episode recording.
Got it.
Yeah, because I definitely had one where Joey was like, "Oh, somebody liked it," and then they was like, "Well, they got erased," and it was like, "Fuck."
All right, I'm getting Matt Sheriff on Twitter at I71 Sheriff. Watching that '80s classic and in my head prequel to Hobbs and Shaw, Tango and Cash, hilarious. A gif of Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone high-fiving.
Wow.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Yeah, boy, do we. Yeah, damn.
Dude, Tango and Cash, totally Hobbs and Shaw.
I still got to watch Tequila Sunrise and see if that's, the real prequel, the true prequel. Mike, we've got one more car picture to guess. Wes sent in one more car picture this time.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Do you want to?
Is Mike guessing with me this time, or is
I think this time he's guessing. Yeah. All right, you got to go out the bang here. I don't remember what it is. I don't remember if it's easy or hard. But let's see here.
A really cool Lexus commercial just came
on
my TV right now too.
All right.
So I'm getting ready. I'm mentally prepared. Go ahead.
Oh right, this is a weird one. Okay.
Go ahead.
So hang on, let me save the pictures because he sent two pictures. He sent two different angles of the same car. I have a new car pick for you. I agree the fun is not in whether or not Joe can guess it correctly, but I do want to change things up a bit from time to time. I just need to find a good middle ground. On that note, I have something a little bit different today. I mostly send in older cars and generally not a lot of import tuners, which I know Joe prefers. So today, I have something new and something from overseas. So new and overseas, okay, Joe?
Okay.
As you can imagine, a good chunk of my YouTube and Google search history revolves around Fast and Furious, which I absolutely believe, of course. Yeah. Especially when I'm emailing you guys and need to fact check myself, which I like that he does more research for the show than we do.
I hate admitting that, but it's very true.
So it's not surprising that my Google search app started suggesting articles about this car. It's so new and not even on the market yet, with sales starting sometime Q2 this year, okay?
Oh.
It's a 2020 model.
Okay.
It is a Japanese car.
I know what it is. Can I just Babe Ruth it?
Sure.
It's the new Supra.
It is the new Supra.
Oh.
Nailed it. It was going to be,
Ooh.
if it was being suggested to you, it's not on the market yet. You didn't even need to give me Japanese car. Like when I knew when you were searching Fast and Furious, you're like the main target for somebody that would buy a new Supra that's coming out soon.
That
but
looks
the
like
new
something
Supras are really
Roman
cool.
would want to drive. Wow.
So it says
They're pretty cool.
Supras were produced from This is what he wrote. 78 from.
Yes.
Supras were produced from 78 to 2002 and started up again in March 2019. Brian drove a '94 Supra in the Fast and Furious.
The orange one. Yep.
New models have a starting price around
one.
$51,000. I think it's green.
Okay.
Yeah. The first production model was auctioned off in January for $2.1 million. Proceeds benefited the American Heart Association and the Bob Woodruff Foundation.
So also the cool tidbit about these are actually being built by BMW, or like they stole BMW engines or parts from it. So everybody's like all mad at Toyota because it's like a BMW. It's not a Supra to them. So like there's a bunch of like hardcore Supra fans that are like, no, it's a BMW, and there's like all these jokes about them being BMWs and not Supras and stuff like that. I think it looks really cool. I would much prefer an old one, but they're hard to find.
But this is a good-looking car. Oh, Joe, I also, in case you didn't get it yet, it's red.
Thank you. I'm
red sports car.
Now.
Red sports car.
Man in red sports car. Man in one red shoe.
Also, I always really, really, really wanted an old 80s Supra. They're really cool. And I found one like when I was like maybe 15 or something. And it had heads-up display in the car.
Ooh.
It had like, you know, like old the green screen that you would play like Oregon Trail on in school. You know what I'm talking about? Like when it was all like just green. It had like that, but it was like a laser, and it would project the speed on your windshield. So when you're driving, like you don't have like a speedometer. Yeah, and it had it, and it would just like show it to you like on the windshield. So like if you're driving, probably why they don't do it too much anymore.
Because it's like too much on the
But you just like focus. You just like adjust your eyes. You know what I mean? Like you like look and you're like, oh yeah, that's speed, and then like you keep looking at the road. So they claimed it was safe.
Cool.
Supras are very fucking cool, and I really wish I had an 80s one. And then my dad found one like not too long ago, and I kept trying to convince him to buy it, and he wouldn't. An asshole. I was like, dude, get it. But he like, you know, he loves like American muscle cars. He's like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this Supra? I was like, dude, you should definitely get this Supra. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And then didn't buy it. Thank you, Wes, for sending in the picture.
There's one more thing. Yeah, thank you, Wes, for writing in. Thank you, Wes, for sending in the picture. Thank you, everybody, for emailing family@cageclub.me. Email us. We'll read it on air. Leave us a review on iTunes.
Sorry that I stole your thunder, Mike. You didn't even get to guess. I apologize.
I didn't even get to describe. You stole everybody's thunder, but I also, you Babe Ruthed it, so you got it. Family@cageclub.me. Email in your franchise picks if you want to do that. Email in your Fast and Furious rankings if you haven't done that. You know, in 2 weeks we'll do our relap recap where we reflect back on this lap, look ahead to the next lap, a walk down memory chain. So that's going to be pretty cool. In 2 weeks we'll do the relap recap. In 3 weeks we'll do You Are My Lifespan Chapter 2, and then in 4 weeks we're starting all over again with the Fast and Furious from 2001. But
should we announce? Can I announce our little tidbit? Like, is it an Easter egg at the end of this episode?
What little tidbit?
We're gonna have a special guest on You Are My Lifespan this time. Oh. And we will have a character voiced by the Mikestir.
Didn't we talk about that on this episode, or was that before we started recording?
Before we started recording.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I am honored.
Tune in to You Are My Lifespan. Mike doesn't know what character he's playing yet, and I can
Ellie
pick
Toretto.
It, and he already agreed to it. So
he's not Ellie. Joe has to be Ellie forever. That's the one rule.
Rachel actually, when I was like telling her about this, she was like, I should have been Ellie, and I was like, I'm Ellie. Yeah. Sorry, like that's just
Joe is Ellie.
I was like, you can be Dom, and she was not as happy with that idea as I was. And then I was like, oh, you have to be Dom, but never mind. Okay.
I forgot this was the one when The Rock kicks the missile. Sorry, just had to get that in before the end.
We have to yell to Roman what he means, like cut the wheel left or whatever, like turn it really hard and fast to the left. But before we sign off, we need to do one more thing. Mike, we need your final rankings.
That's right. Oh man.
Do you want me to give you what they were before, or do you want to just write that down?
Does it look like the scene from Always Sunny, where it's just like all these arrows and just like?
No, you know what it looks like, Joey? It looks like the time capsule paper from Knowing. Like there's just numbers.
Oh, okay.
All over
Yep.
the page
And then it just says
Memento.
EE.
You just have numbers written everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, these were your rankings when you emailed in lap 1. We'll start at the bottom. We'll go up to the top. Okay.
Okay.
In last place, Fast and Furious number 4.
Okay.
Wow.
7th was Fate of the Furious. 6th, Furious 7. 5, Too Fast, Too Furious. 4, the OG, the Fast and the Furious.
Damn.
Number 3, Fast and Furious 6. Number 2, Tokyo Drift. Number 1, Fast 5.
Wow.
So what you got for us this time? Either start at the bottom or start at the top.
It's crazy, guys.
Start at the bottom. Start at the bottom.
Wow, this is insane. I can't believe.
Is it the same?
No. It's very different.
Okay, good. Yeah, see?
At the way bottom is number 8.
Okay.
Then number 1.
Whoa.
Dude.
Also, for the record, Rachel also has number 1 at number 7. So.
And then number 2.
Okay.
Cool.
Then number 4.
Okay.
Okay,
that
so
got
4 climbed up a
way-
lot.
4 climbed from 8 to
dude.
5. Okay.
I feel like I finally discovered part 4. this
Same.
lap.
I had the same thoughts.
I think it's so funny that like you guys are both like that, and I was like, because I've only seen, I didn't have this history of the franchise, but like when we first started this, Joe was like, I'm worried to watch 4. I was like, well, like 4 is good. Like I knew 4 was good from the beginning.
If you watch them like as they came out, when we got to 4, you're just like, oh, it was so disappointing, right? Like Letty dies, like the movie like changes.
Yeah, it's dark and serious.
Gal. All right,
but Gal comes in.
Mike, your top 4.
Okay.
So far, just for a recap, you have Tokyo Drift remaining, you have Fast 5 remaining, Fast and Furious 6, and Furious 7. And 7 was also very low in your list, too, so that's climbed up a lot as well.
Yes.
So your number 4 is?
Number 7.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not just
it climbs.
I mean, I know I have that hot take about how it might not be my favorite looking one, but it definitely story, action, Paul Walker, all that stuff combined, like
just
Abu Dhabi.
Pure emotion. I agree.
It's really good. Number 3 is number 3.
Okay.
Tokyo Drift's still up there. I mean, yeah, it's the best. I love it, but not as much as number 2, which is number 5.
5 is amazing.
And that leaves number 1 to be number 6.
World's Longest Runway.
Dude, I don't know, like, especially watching it this time, it just felt like you could show someone number 6. You get reintroduced to everybody, you get brought up to speed really well. Like, it's great. Like, lots of car stuff, lots of action stuff.
I agree with you, and when I was thinking of like the 7 movies I'd pick from a franchise, I was debating on whether or not I would show them 5 or 6. Because I think you could show either one. I think 5 is probably a better choice, but I think 6 would be like a more fun choice. Like, even if somebody hadn't watched it, you're just like, just watch this movie go off the rails. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking jumping into a plane on the World's Longest Runway. Like, you're gonna have fun watching that movie with a bunch of people no matter what. So
when I first started writing down the franchise picks, the first 2 movies that I wrote down were Fast and Furious 6 and Mission Impossible Fallout.
Okay.
I think that the reason I didn't include them, and because I was so caught up in the like scheduling of it all, was that they're both long. They're both really long movies.
They're very long.
And
they're
both
very
great,
long.
but they're both 2.5-hour movies, basically. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
it's a tall order when you're watching 7 in a row to watch a long movie. That's why
It's a very good point.
Sleepaway Camp is short, and High School Musical 2 is short, and the first Fast and Furious is like, half an hour, 40 minutes shorter than some of the later ones and stuff like that. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is short, so I think, not that I was being super stickler about that because this isn't real, but there's something to be said about having a shorter, punchy movie, even though, we love Fast and Furious 6. The other thing I wanted to point out, Mike and I somehow, with a few exceptions, most notably for a little bit Waking Up in Reno, also The Bad Batch, Mike and I have almost identical taste in every movie. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how, because like our favorite movies are similar, but they're different. But like what we watch and talk about, we wind up agreeing on just about everything. To the point where on one episode, Mike, I don't know if you remember, but we were ranking the 3 90s Cage action movies and the 3 90s Keanu action movies, and we had the same order. Also, may I point out, on our Top Gun episode, when Duke, who will be on our next lap, Dan Hayden, asked me and Mike if they did a gender swap of The Matrix, who would play Agent Smith, and Mike and I in unison said, "Oh, Kate Blanchett." Like, it's the same. We know exactly.
It's freaky.
It's the same
weird
thing. So, it's a long way of going to say that, Mike, you and I, this is my rankings at the end of lap 1, so they might change, but we have the same number 1, we have the same number 2, we have the same number 3, we have the same number 4, and we have the same number 8.
Wow.
Our 5, 6, and 7, which is the first movie, the fourth movie, and the second movie, change a little bit, but 5 of the 8 we have in the same exact order. So
God damn,
it feels like The Price is Right. Where you got to match 5.
We did.
Closest to the pin wins, man.
That's crazy. Well, I can't believe how. I mean, not everything switched drastically, but I'm surprised how much changed on my list.
4 is a sleeper pick.
Yeah.
I was so dreading it, and I'm glad that you agree with me, but like when you watch it again, it just like sets up the whole rest of the franchise. Like, it doesn't feel like it's that important, but it's a huge cornerstone and like jumping to the next level.
Yeah, it's not a reboot or anything, but it's just like reconfiguring stuff, like reshuffling things into the right order so that they could just go off from that point. It's really well done.
Yeah. Mike, any parting thoughts for the franchise before you join us for... We're still not sure exactly how we're going to do Hobbs and Shaw, but the first time we have a guest for Hobbs and Shaw, you'll be on that. So any other thoughts? I mean, you can always email family@cageclub.me and let us know, but...
Right, yeah, I have to get back on the emails because I stopped them so I wouldn't sort of waste any of these thoughts.
Yeah.
But now that I won't be back on for a while, you might see a few more emails from me. I mean,
the Mikestir.
I don't know. I think I'd like to see Vin Diesel with a beard. Maybe like at the start of the next one, they catch up with him and he's like gone somewhere,
really
grown
like
a
that.
beard, and like teaching driver's ed or something. I don't know what he's doing, but like
Teaching driver's ed, I like.
I would
that
like
a
to
lot.
see a different look to the start of the next movie, and I don't know, I'm just really looking forward to where they're going next, but I also hope at some point with some of these spin-offs and stuff, they get a chance to sort of explore the past a little bit too. Like, I'd love to still see, not in a whole movie, but at least a sequence of like teen Dom and Letty doing their thing, and obviously, you know, looking forward to that cartoon if it ever comes around, but haven't really heard anything about that on Netflix. But I mean, the future of Fast and Furious is just—it's going to be big, man. Like, this is just the beginning, it feels, with all these spin-offs announced, the Hobbs and Shaw, the all-female.
Are you trying to say that it's going to go on forever?
These laps are just going to get longer, guys. So
Yeah, that's fine.
best of luck to you going forward. I'll stick with you as long as I can over here, riding along on the side. But I don't know how many more laps I have in myself on my own.
We're gonna build like a permanent sidecar for like a motorcycle and just like strap you onto the side.
Well, the thing to keep in mind is that after we do one more lap, you only have to watch 5 minutes of the first movie every 2 weeks. So it's going to be a break for everyone.
That's right.
Unless we figure out a different way to do that, but I think that might be the best way. So it'll be a nice little like year-long reprieve for everyone involved. But can't wait to get real deep there.
It was gonna get super meta for a while.
I also want to say, we sort of mentioned it offhanded before, but Joe and I just recorded and released, as you're listening to this, our episode of Drive for boyfriend material. We normally...
Which we talked a lot about these movies
Yes.
in it because, obviously...
Yep, we always sort of plug our other stuff, Zack Attack and Magic Mike's and boyfriend material, but this is the first time, really, that a movie kind of sort of truly crosses over. So if you want to read about or hear us talk about Ryan Gosling restoring a car to get in the mindset of the driver or kid or whatever his character's actual name is, check out our episode of Drive over on Boyfriend Material. And like, if you like the goofy, weird stuff in here, like there's so much more of it over there.
Yeah, I think we actually kind of like stick more to the movie here. It goes more off the rails on those ones, I think.
Yeah, because they're like an hour 20 long, so they're shorter than this. But like the movie discussion is like 35 minutes, and then there's like 45 minutes of like bullshit and nonsense.
Yeah.
So just go check those out. Thank you, Mike, for joining us this entire lap. You set the
Dude, I loved
precedence
it.
in two. Actually, no, sorry. We have 2 more laps because next lap we have a walk down memory chain. The lap after that we have Kara for the entire lap, and then we have the Fast and Furious minute. But you have set the precedent for one guest for an entire lap. No one can ever take away from you that you were the first. You have been the first person to do every
the triple
movie.
crossover too, man, was incredible.
Oh, that's right. That was epic. Yeah, dude, this has been some of the most fun, some of the best times I've had podcasting just at all. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Sure. For all
Yeah, I loved
things
it.
Too Fast, Too Forever, and for all 8 of Mike's great episodes in this lap, you can go to cageclub.me or facebook.com/cageclub or at cageclubpod on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/toofast2forever. Our threadless shop at cageclub.threadless.com. While you're poking around, go check out Mike's podcast, Third Time's a Charm. We're in the midst of at least three episodes about WrestleMania 3, so go check those out. We've got
Awesome.
2 out already and another one coming out on May 3rd. So go check out WrestleMania. Lots of talk, because Fridays are for fun. May 3rd is a Friday, so Fridays are really for fun that day.
A Friday and on a third.
Ooh, right? Go do all those things. We'll see you in 2 weeks for our relap recap, 3 weeks for You Are My Lifespan, and then 4 weeks for
Mike
the
will be
start
back.
of lap
Mike
4,
will be back.
The Fast and the Furious, a walk down memory chain.
Chain.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
I want you to sign it off yourself, Mike.
And I'm Mike Manzi.
And we'll see you next time for the relap recap of lap 3, the ride-along lap, right here on Too Fast, Too Forever.
Raise a cup up for all my day ones. 2 middle fingers for the haters. Life's only getting greater. Straight up from nothing we go. Higher than the highest skyscraper. No little league we major. The proof is in the paper. We put the good